brother tonight. Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETSN.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Week 12, bEast from the East show. It's Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney here alongside of my normal cast of characters, K.O. Kyle Owens, and then this other guy. Who is this guy, Kyle? Who's this? This Jaron? Jaron, is this your name, Jaron?
It's been a while.
Welcome back, sir.
It's been a while. I'm glad to be back.
Playoff times come around, and just people just start making their return. Like it's almost like these playoffs are important or something. I don't know. You know, people take hiatuses off from long stretches of time. Wait, is someone entering the room? No, it can't be. Straight off of last year's bEast from the East, he's back finally for the playoffs. It's Coach Jeremy Hubbard. Himself.
I'm back.
Welcome back, sir.
Man, it's good to be back. It's been a long year, right, for a lot of reasons, but I'm glad to be back here. Playoff time is special for a lot of people. We're fortunate enough to be in it, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point. But, man, exciting time of the year, and everything now, every single thing matters. Every little thing matters more than it did even 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Coach Hubbard, I love you.
I love you too, KO. Man, but it's good to be back. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk a little football. Let's go.
Yeah, it's good time of year. First off, we'll talk about last week's picks We do have one of the three-way tie people in this room. I mean, somebody I don't know what happened. He got lucky. I don't know what happened there, but KO tied for first with Coach Tony Riley over there, coach at Chapel Hill, and also Doug Montgomery. So shout out to those people right there. It's KO. How'd you do it? What's the success? Copy me and then switch one pick. I think that's what it was. That's what you did.
Listen, I didn't throw any Hail Marys. I went with my I told you my goal going into last week was to get back on the first page of the leaderboard, and I achieved my goal with a nice 9-win record this past week. So I want to thank my brain for giving me the thoughts to pick these teams. I want to thank the teams that won in helping me succeed in my 9 wins. I want to also thank Union Grove for ruining my perfect 10-0. So thank you, Union Grove.
Oh, man, that's the disrespect from Union Grove. I don't know. It's Keith's fault. He was out there and things were all over the place happening. It was rain pouring down like cats and dogs.
I blame Keith.
Yeah,
I blame Keith.
But hey, Kyle, you missed one of the things that you wanted to do. You said you were looking to catch somebody on this NETSN panel. I think starts with a J, and I think he was down in that bottom left corner there. It's your goal is to try to catch Mr. Peoples down there.
We closed the gap. I'm only 2 behind now. We closed the gap, so it's nothing but positive after my rough week of Hail Marys I had that one week. It's been positive ever since.
Yeah, I had 8. I was right behind you, tied for 4th with a few others, but not too bad. I don't see. Did you make selections this week, Coach Hubbard?
Yeah, I went 6-4, man. I went 6-4.
Oh, there you are. Way down there. Okay, I see. Okay.
I don't feel as bad now taking Big Sandy since KO took Big Sandy too, and he was one of the leaders. The only one that I'm really kicking myself over when it's all said and done is taking Henderson over Lindale, man. Like,
yeah, you should.
Man,
shouldn't have done that, Coach.
No, I shouldn't have went against the hometown of the great KO. But man, didn't it just feel like Henderson just had been doing something special this year, and they'd find a way to do it? Like that's just kind of what I felt like, and it just the opposite.
I felt like that Kilgore failed to show up in half number 1. They got a lead, and then they kind of were just dominated the second half, and then they got wins against Palestine and Maybank, and then they finally started playing some other people that were pretty good, and it just didn't work for them. I think what I said in one of the group chats, I don't know, I've got so many, is they are who we thought they were. That's the 5th place team, and they're out from the beginning of the season. Before we saw anything, we thought Henderson was fifth place, and that's what they ended up, unfortunately for them.
Man, I saw those dudes, and I know 7-on-7. I'm not a huge proponent of 7-on-7, obviously, but just looking at their athletes, man, like golly, they just look so stinking good. And you would think that, I don't know, I thought they would figure it out, and you're right, they're sitting at home now, and hope they got the basketballs aired up for tomorrow.
I don't know. That's basketball's rough over there, unless they've added a few pieces for Henderson.
Hey, volleyball's doing good. I think volleyball made it to the 3rd round for the first time in school history, maybe, or the first time in a while. But volleyball's in the 3rd round, so shout out to the volleyball team.
Okay. But no, I think Coach Baker's got the team going the right direction. I mean, he's only been – this is, what, year 2? So, I mean, there was a big culture problem over there in Henderson, and so it doesn't just turn overnight. So I applaud the job he's done to even have them sitting. The sad thing is sitting at 3-0 halfway through district and then to not make the playoffs. That's tough.
Such a tough district.
After last year too, when they lost 3 games by 1 possession, that could have, put them into the playoffs potentially to lose. And Jeremy, I thought the same thing. I thought Henderson. I said it last week that it worried me because it was one of those games that it seemed that Henderson could find some magic and find a way to get in, but it's almost like they didn't even show up Friday night, and that's 2 weeks in a row. It's 2 weeks in a row that they didn't show up because they got blown out by Chapel Hill the week before without Demetrius Brisbane or Ricky Stewart playing, and you still got blown out. So I don't know what happened over in Henderson, what changed, but it seems like since that win over Kilgore, it just went downhill after that. And I'm not sure what the explanation is. I hate it for Coach Baker. I like Coach Baker, and I think he's doing a good job. But
Yeah.
they are in a really, really tough district, and there was going to be a good team left out, and Henderson's drew the short stick this year.
All right. So we'll talk about these pick'em games now that we've gone over that. We went 9-8-7-6 all the way around the screen here. But there was a lot of interesting, I guess, weather related effects to these games that, you know, it was ugly out there. I think we were all either at a game or you know, out coaching or covering. So it was a little muggy out there. Actually, it wasn't as bad where we were, Jeremy, as I thought it was going to be. It really didn't get bad in Bullard. It was more misty and annoying, a little bit hard for just a few minutes, but not much at all, and allowed you guys to have senior out on the football field, which I thought that was great that they were able to get that in too.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, but it was raining pretty hard at that point. The game was pretty good. I'll say the fourth quarter for us. Of course, we started earlier than anybody else did. We started at 4:30, and we missed a lot of it. I tell you, Brett, I don't know. I don't think you and I talked about this, but at the half, we were in the locker room, and our trainer came in and said, "Hey, we're letting you know, like lightning's like 14 miles away, and I think the kind of the threshold is 12 at what they look at." To
Mm.
get us all off the field. And so we were in the locker room actually starting to plan out what our delay would look like. Like, okay, if this, we're obviously going to go out there, maybe kick it off, get the ball, uh, come back in. And fortunately for us, the band just kind of turned and went right around us. We didn't have a delay. The rain started, I guess, early fourth quarter, maybe Brett, middle of the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
and it was pretty heavy at that point. But no, man, now fortunately we played when we did. I mean, if we'd have started at 7 o'clock, we'd have been in the middle of it, obviously. But we obviously the weather didn't have a factor in our game, and I know it had. I know there were a lot of schools that did have delays and stuff like that. Mainly the field conditions, guys. That's the main thing
Mhm.
for a lot of these schools is if you don't have turf now, which it used to be the exception was to have turf, and now it's almost like if you don't have turf, what are you doing? But man, playing on grass Friday night would have been tough.
You know, it was fun. One of my most memorable moments as doing broadcasting games was after the game, getting locked out of the press box and having to be shoved up through the window by Vincent Johnson.
It was one of my most memorable experiences of the year too. Watching you have to get shoved through the window by Vincent Johnson.
uh, it was interesting. So we came out we were basically packing up and didn't realize that senior night was going to be right after. I thought they had changed it to inside the underneath, and then I see them setting up for it. I'm like, oh wait, we just went off the or we're trying to go off the air. So we try to run back down, and I couldn't get back in the press box. So thankfully I'd left the window open because we had put that microphone outside. So I was able to get in, get back on, make an announcement. Senior night was going to be on there. So we were able to broadcast senior night, which was great. But yeah, that was interesting. I'm glad I will tell you that the countertop is very sturdy. I've officially tested it out, and it's sturdily made up there in that Brook Hill NETSN suite, as we call it. So
the counter might be more sturdy than the actual flooring in that press box.
well,
But I guess the main question about all this is how in the millions of dollars of buildings that we have on our campus is there only one key to our press box in existence? I don't understand that, but that
I think I might need to get a key to that press box.
somebody, right? There seems to be one in the entire world.
Oh man. All right, so let's talk some games. One game we were hoping to try to get to, but weren't able to, was basically a winner made the playoffs, and Mount Enterprise went over and got the win on the road in Alto. And Alto's another one of those teams that started the year really, really on fire, and they find themselves sitting at home now, not making the playoffs in that really tough district.
Yeah, they had a hot start to the season, like you said, 5-0, and then they played Grapeland in that second district game, which I was at for the Red Zone game of the week, and Grapeland won 20-6. And since then, they fell off, winning one out of their last 5 games, and it was a 2-point win over Tenaha. Just a tough way for Coach Grigsby and the Yellow Jacket season to end. Kind of similar to what we talked about with Henderson a while ago, like that, Alto starting off real strong, and then once they hit a little patch in district, it just kind of fell off a cliff. So Alto, though, I think they're pretty young. I think they'll have some guys coming back next year that can make an impact, and Coach Grigsby's doing a good job over there. So I think the future is bright for Alto. But Mount Enterprise, all you wanted to do is get in. That's what you asked for. It's
Well,
a chance in the dance, and they
having
got in.
having Keegan Ash back, they're a different football team right now than they were in the middle of their district season. So
For sure.
it'll be interesting to see kind of how they match up against their playoff opponent in round one, and we'll talk about those here later in the show. But I did have Mount Enterprise there. Me and 31 people, I guess, total had Mount Enterprise. Only 15 had Alto. Did anybody take the Yellow Jackets here? Everybody have Mount Enterprise?
No, I do agree, KO. Alto a lot like Henderson in the fact that based on where they were going into the year, and really after everything that happened in the last couple of years, Coach Grigsby needed to give them some winnable games. And they did that early on. They won the games they needed to win, build that success, have a little momentum. The district's a little tougher, okay, than what they were playing before. They're young. We scrimmaged those guys this past August, and they're young and they've got some talent. They're going to be fine, but I think it's a very good comparison to what those two programs are at, where they're at. I think maybe in the same place.
Yeah, that district's a good district. I mean, and I agree, Brett, that them missing Ash for a little bit, probably, put them down a spot or two in district. But, I mean, all four teams, I think, have a pretty good shot of winning this first round. And so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Alto beat Cayuga earlier in the season, 34-0, and Cayuga's in the playoffs. They're a classification, or I guess a division up. So that's interesting there. That just shows how tough that district really is. All right.
Hey, I got some breaking news for you that we can break. Well, by the time this airs, it won't be breaking anymore, but it's breaking news. Eustis is looking for a new head coach. They have already made the decision to move on from Coach Jimmy Cantrell. He was the coach in this year. They're going to be on their fifth different head coach since 2018.
Oh,
so not great for Eustis, but Eustis is open. So if anybody wants a head coaching job, Eustis is available.
That's one of those.
Nobody's gonna want one where they've had 5 in 6 years. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know that.
No,
you can't.
Maybe that's part of the issue.
You got to give the guy a chance. I mean, how do you? I don't know. I'm just not a fan of, like, you at least got to give him 2 or 3 seasons and try to establish a culture. I mean, you can't do anything with a program that's had that many coaches in that short of time frame. It's just the kids are already just down. I mean, you got to build something with relationships with those kids, and you can't do that if they are going to get rid of you. I don't know. I don't like that. Not a fan.
No.
The next one we were talking about a little bit earlier. This one was may have been the upset special of the week. 2 people had Union Grove winning this game over Big Sandy, and man, I kind of followed this game because our game was early. We had the 4:30 game, so we had Keith's game kind of started after ours. He was over in Big Sandy with Christian, and there was some weather, and they had some trouble getting on the air. They were on and were audio only for a little bit, but they got the camera up, and so I was watching this game, and Union Grove just got all over Big Sandy from the get-go. I mean, they were ahead from the very start, and I saw Big Sandy play against Wascom, and they didn't start well in that game either. If y'all remember, but Kyle was there. He remembers. Wascom didn't even get on the field on offense till almost the end of the first quarter. There was a couple minutes left in the first quarter, and they were up 21-0 over Big Sandy. Now, Big Sandy already had 3rd place locked up, so there was really nothing to play for in this game for them. But that's not how you want to enter the playoffs on a bad note. And so I know Coach Pullum is disappointed with his kids in their effort, but man, that's a tough way to enter the playoffs. And for Union Grove, that's a great way to go out. They're going to be kicking themselves, for some of the games earlier in the season that they let slip away, or they might have had a chance to jump up in that playoff picture.
It's tough, man. It's tough for Big Sandy, and it's kind of been the story of their season. And I heard it on the sideline, like during that Wascom game. I heard a kid say, "We always do this in big games. Why don't we show up in big games?" So and even though they didn't, like you said, didn't technically have anything to play for, but they did. They needed to get some momentum going into the playoffs. You don't want to go in on a losing a game going into the playoffs. So it's unfortunate that it seems that they don't rise to the occasion in these big games. But hey, they're in the dance. That we just talked about it. All you want is a chance, and so they're in the dance, and anything can happen once you get in. So I think if they can start hotter, they can start faster, then they could be in these games because they usually make comebacks towards the end, but they just got to start faster.
Well, in making the playoffs in that district saying something, that's that big 8-team district, and it's a competitive one that, Wascom kind of ran away with this year, which, that shocked me. I mean, but so even getting in that, district's a big deal. And Coach Adams over at Union Grove, I think he's got a promising future there. He's a Union Grove guy, left Ore City to come back over to Union Grove. I think he's going to do a good job. Now, again, it's going to be at least tough for another year with that crowded district. But I think he's getting some things going over there. But, just making the playoffs in that district's a pretty good feat.
Yeah, and honestly, you look at Big Sandy, that's what Coach Pullum was brought in there for, right? To change that culture. And it's not even fair or reasonable to expect it to change overnight in 1 year. Now, you're right. They didn't have a lot to play for. You hate to use that as an excuse, man. Like, you still want to go into the dance with a lot of momentum, but those kids don't know what that's like. I mean, that's the truth. Like, they didn't know they need that momentum. I don't without knowing. I mean, I don't know if that was a factor or not. Sometimes what they don't know doesn't hurt them, right? But he'll get it straight. I know Coach Pullum, and I know that he cares, and the effort he's putting into that program, they'll fix it. Maybe they go out and they get him a win this week.
Hey, listen. So they're 6-4 this year, right? Listen to their past records to speak on how good of a job Coach Pullum's doing. Last year they were 2-7, 2022 3-7, 21 2-8, 2020 0-8, 19 4-8, 18 5-5. So like the job that Coach Pullum has done this year is phenomenal. And now if they can start showing up in these bigger games, then we got something to talk about with Big Sandy. And I love Coach Pullum over there, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job with the program. I'm happy to see him making the playoffs.
He did a good job of scheduling too. Got some quality, not that quality wins, but some wins early. His schedule favored him a little bit with wins over Winona, Como, Picton, and Ore City, all teams that were struggling this year. But it gave them a little bit of momentum, going in the district. So when you got a team that's had that kind of, down, I guess, down times in the program where you're struggling to win 2 or 3 games, I like the scheduling that way. And as they continue to get better, then you start, maybe making a couple of more tougher opponents to challenge you. But, getting their confidence up, when you've had not very much success is very important to a program like that. So I really like the way he did with that schedule.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. If not this year, they're building. They've put the steps in place to be much different than what they've been, as KO mentioned, over the last few years. I think that's a thing of the past for them.
All right. Next up, we have Grapeland and Lovelady, and I had Lovelady in this one. Me and 47 others there had Lovelady. They've just been kind of the class of this district. We've covered several games. We've had Overton this year a few times, and of course we had Mount Enterprise and Overton was that a few weeks ago, and this district has been very competitive. Lovelady is a really good football team. I thought coming in that Overton could compete. That they took Overton and beat them by 20 points, and they've pretty much. I mean, that Grapeland game, 13-12. I think the weather had a lot to do with this one. It was a little muck out game, but hey, does it matter how many points you win by, guys? I don't think it does. Last time I checked, unless you're trying to get tiebreakers, they're not worried about that. They take that district championship. And that 1-point win got it for them. So solid win for Lovelady at home to finish off their regular season. And they're a team that we need to watch for, 2, 3, 4 rounds deep. They're going to be a team that can make a run here.
Listen. Maybe the weather did have something to do with it, but I'm going to give more credit to that Grapeland Sandy defense. When you look at how I saw them against Alto hold that Alto team that Jeremy was talking about. It's an athletic Alto team, and Grapeland held them to 6 points. Then they shut out Mount Enterprise, and I know Ash probably didn't play, so that a little caveat there, but still pitched a shutout against Mount Enterprise, a shutout against Cushing, a shutout against Tenaha. Like they had only allowed 6 points over their last 4 games.
So
So I think
what Overton's offense must have just had something over them, because giving up 41 in that one is kind of an outlier looking at some of the other games.
Right. So that's why I'm sure the weather had a factor to do with it, but I think it's more Grapeland's defense. I think Grapeland's a really good football team. Like looking at that Overton game, I know they lost that one and gave up 41 points, which is un-Grapeland like, but you take away that game, I think this Grapeland team, look, we've said it before. I think getting the 3 seed is the best seed to get headed into the playoffs. Chapel Hill showed it last year when they were a 3 seed. They're a 3 seed again this year. Like, I think the 3 seed's the best seed. Grapeland's a 3 seed. Grapeland is that 3, and I think they're going to make some noise. This is a tough region that they're in, but I wouldn't sleep on this Grapeland team because defense travels and defense can take you far in the playoffs. So I wouldn't sleep on this Grapeland team. But also, Lovelady's a very, very, very good football team too.
Yeah, so I did that Overton Lovelady game several weeks ago, and that Whitaker kid, they got 2, but I believe some are 5. That Whitaker kid is legit. And again, we weren't at that game this past week, so I am surprised that even in those weather conditions, they only score 13 points on that, because he can score a lot. I mean, that Overton game, they won 41-21, and they were able to shut down what was typically a pretty explosive Overton offense several weeks ago. So I think Lovelady's gonna make it pretty far. I hadn't looked at the bracket too far in yet, but typically they run into a Mart team that's pretty solid, and that's who Overton will run into in the second week if they win their first round game. So going through Mart, tough road to go, but I think Lovelady will go a few weeks in.
Well, you got to think too, it's the game that Grapeland's probably looking forward to. Like that's the big rivalry of the district. I think that Grapeland over the last few years has been one of those teams that's kind of been like on the verge of how do we really talk about them? What do we think of them? Lovelady, I'm sitting here at this point last year at KO and Brett, and we're listening to Corey talk on this long soliloquy about Lovelady and loving people. I don't even know what he was talking about. I don't think he knew what he was talking about. But the point is that Lovelady has been there. They've been a team that has been in this conversation for a while. It's a really good football team. So the score, when I saw the score, the first thing I thought was, okay, the weather probably had a factor in what happened. Number 2, how good is Grapeland really? Because we know this Lovelady team is a good football team. We know that they're quality. And so I'm interested to see what happens. And you're right, KO. Grapeland finishing 3rd means they avoid Mart for a little while longer. Do you see Lovelady and Grapeland play again in a couple of rounds? We'll see if that plays out. Haven't looked at the bracket in depth to know how that goes, but I will tell you that I'm curious to see what Grapeland does in the first round, because I feel like if they can take that momentum, win the first round, do some great things there, then you'll see what happens. That's just my first impression looking at it.
They wouldn't have to face Mart till the 3rd round. So, yeah. I mean, that goes back to my point. Like, yes, if you're Grapeland, are you really upset that you lost that game to Overton? Because now you think maybe an extra week of the playoffs and another week before you have to face Mart, where unlike Overton, who won that game and got the better seed but has the worst draw. I don't know why. I don't know analytically why the 3 seed is the better seed, but it always is, and I don't know why.
Well, if you look at it from a standpoint of it doesn't affect where you play, right? You don't have to go travel to their place, number 1, and it's an extra week in the playoffs, yes, but it's also another week that somebody else has a chance to either knock them off or expose them, and that's usually what happens. You get a team like a 3 seed or a 4 seed. If you can win one and you get some help, that's how you make that long run, is getting some help winning a game along the way by somebody else. It's maybe not you, but it's somebody. It's another week that somebody else has a chance to do it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And the weather's going to get bad. Or, I mean, like we know in November, the weather's going to get bad, and anything happens, just give yourself a chance.
Just get into the dance. That's all it takes. All right, game 4. This one got me. I should have thought with my head instead of my heart. This is Corey Marshall's fault. I went with Tyler High, and I should have known better. As they lose to Red Oak, and we've got no legacy in the playoffs, no Tyler High. So
Strong Lufkin.
Lufkin, yeah, Lufkin's looking good. They're moving down to that district is looking pretty good
Right
in their
call, huh?
favor.
Yeah, right call.
But yeah, I kind of watched a little bit of this game. There was a great play by Tyler High. Red Oak had a chance to score late in the game and put it away completely. And Tyler High actually ran it down, punched the ball out, and it went through the end zone for a touchback. And so I think the game was only 10 points. But I think they had to win and have some point differential. There was a lot of things that had to go their way for them to make the playoffs. But I think my main take on Tyler High's season is just they're just inconsistent. Like, you don't know what you're going to get from week to week, and it may be from quarter to quarter, and they can't put a full 4 quarters together. I feel bad for them. It feels like they just can't get a whole game together, and if they do, the next week they're back to going backwards. I don't know what to make of it, but Tyler High, you messed me up this week. That was the difference. I think Kyle had Red Oak. I think that was the difference. He picked with his head better than I did.
Well, it's just because I've seen this Tyler High team this year, and they're kind of similar to Big Sandy, where they start so slow. Like they get themselves behind the 8 ball where they're down 14, 17 points early, and then they're battling back. And once you get caught back up, you've already expended so much energy to catch back up that now you don't have that little extra to get you over the hump to complete the comeback. And I think that's been Tyler High's problem all year is they just start slow and they're unable to finish strong. What really hurt them was that loss to Burleson Centennial a couple of weeks ago. That's the loss that really kind of put them behind everything, because had they won that game, we're probably talking about Tyler High being in the playoffs right now. So it's unfortunate for Coach Woods and Tyler High, but it may not show in the record, but you can see on the field that what Coach Woods and his staff have going on at Tyler is working. Like he is connecting with the kids. He is getting through to the kids. They're playing their tails off. You look at this team a couple of years ago, they're not even competitive in games. And like, at least this year, yeah, they were inconsistent, but they were in almost every game this year. So I think that it's going to take time. It's a process. We just talked about Eustis not giving a coach a chance. Well, Coach Woods is getting a chance there, and he's turning that program back around, getting it back to its old Cujo ways. It's just going to take some time, but I think I'm going to say it right now on November 12th of 2024 that Tyler High is in the playoffs next year. I'm calling it right now that the Lions make the playoffs next season.
2 years ago, they were 2-8. That's just 2 seasons ago. Last year, they were 6-4. It's another 6-4 season. Yeah, and I mean, again, not a cakewalk district over there either. But, yeah, I'm with you, KO. I think they're on the right track. I think both Tower teams, I mean, even Legacy didn't make the playoffs, but they had some good wins this season. So both Tower teams are trajecting the right way, just not quite there yet.
I think it goes. I agree with you completely, KO and Jaron, about where they're headed. I said this last year multiple times. He's the right guy, and you can just see that progression they're making, the steps they're taking to get better, that he's the right guy there. Hopefully they do give him that time. I think they will. Looks like they're going to. And I'm with you, KO. I think they're a playoff team. And I think what you have to look at is a year ago or 2 years ago, we're talking about different issues with them. And now we're talking about the fact that they let games go, that they were the team that would let things slip instead of they're not even in game. So I think there's a natural progression there. I think they're headed the right direction. I'm with you. I think they're a playoff team next year and going forward.
Who'd you guys have in this game, by the way?
I took Tyler. I'm going to continue to take Coach Woods and back him every week.
So you're the Corey Marshall of this show today. Like,
I don't really appreciate that, but I'm a believer in the process, and I think they're following the process with him. Kind of like with Henderson, it looked like when you get in a situation where you need to win, I feel like that's the next step. And it's a little early.
I thought so too. I had this feeling that they were going to get this one. It just didn't work out.
It was a 10-point game. It's not like it was a blowout.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it or anything, but it's not like it was a blowout. I mean, it was a 10-point game.
All right, game 5. The red zone game of the week where KO was at as Malakoff and Winsboro battled as Mike Jones with a touchdown at the end of the game to seal it. Who?
Who?
Oh, okay. So touchdown at the end of the game, 35-28 win for Malakoff. I pick Malakoff in this game to win, but a lot closer than I thought. I was impressed with Winsboro and the way they fought in this game. Man, I just still feel like the weather earlier in the season. I just can't get over that Tatum game. It just still bothers me that game 1 with Tatum beat Winsboro. I don't know if just maybe they're still working some things out. They've clicked ever since, and even though they took the loss here, a great job by Coach Finney and that team to compete with team that's won. How many games in a row is it? Like 20? What are we at? 25, 26?
26.
I mean, that's just incredible.
And that was their 33rd straight district win and their 6th straight district championship. So, and this is after Malakoff blew out Winsboro in the playoffs the past 2 years. So this was a big game for Winsboro. And, we are talking about the weather. The weather was a non-factor in this game. I mean, it missed it a little bit, and it may have rained briefly in the second quarter, but outside of that, it was.
Well, I was talking about the first game when they were the
right.
weather.
No. I know. I'm just saying. I know Friday night a lot of games got moved due to weather, but this one, weather was not a factor in this one, which was excellent. And I didn't want weather to be a factor in this game. Like it's the 2 best teams in the district. Let's fight it out on the field and figure out who's the best here. The Winsboro's first half. They came down on the first drive and scored a touchdown, had a fake punt on 4th down on the opening drive in their own territory. Threw it out to Camden Capehart, who is a Mississippi State commit, one-handed grab on the sideline, sweet catch. They converted that, then the very next play scored a 19-yard touchdown pass to take the lead on Malakoff. Malakoff was able to come back down and score big, long touchdown run by Jason Tennyson. And then Winsboro scored again on Carroll to Capehart on a little slant route, about 16 yards in the second quarter. And they were actually up 14-7 at halftime and had momentum and dominated the line of scrimmage in the first half. Second half, third quarter was phenomenal. Third quarter, Malakoff came out there, drove down. Jason Tennyson ran to the right, reverse field, back to the left, found the end zone, 6-yard rushing touchdown, tied it up at 14. Malakoff forced Winsboro into a 3-and-out. Then Malakoff came back down. Tennyson again scored. Third touchdown of the night for Jason Tennyson. Put them up 21-14. Ensuing kickoff, Braxton Espinoza for Winsboro takes the kickoff 90 yards to the house. So we're tied at 21. Malakoff comes back down. Mike Jones throws a touchdown pass to Michael Elliott, 28-21. They kick it off. Winsboro first play from scrimmage after that, 73-yard rushing touchdown by Tyson Johnson. And so at the end of the third quarter, we're right back at 28. And then, you talked about it, Brett. Mike Jones scored with 1:25 left in the game, a 16-yard rushing touchdown to give Malakoff the win and keep the streak alive. But it was a heck of a ball game.
Man, I hope I get just one game that's half as good as that and calling these games in the playoffs as that one sounded like. Man,
third quarter was wild.
Man, I'm going to go back and say something about the Tatum game, Brett. And I never did this. This was not my forte. It's hard to play quarterback, right? It's hard to play quarterback. And what was Winsboro breaking in week 1?
Yeah.
They lost the best one they've had.
Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about a program-changing quarterback in Kyler Finney, and they're breaking in a new guy here. And I'm not so sure that I'm shocked at the run they're on. I think we had tempered expectations for them. And to see it kind of pay off here in this one, in a game that I think the first time I saw the score, they were up You know, KO mentioned this thing's back and forth, right? And I didn't even think about the fact that Malakoff had dominated them in the playoffs over the last couple of years. I mean, this really hadn't been a competitive matchup. I think it says a lot about the job that Coach Josh Finney has done at Winsboro. And listen, I've said this before. He did it at Maud, he did it at Teague, and now he's doing it at Winsboro, where it's not just about one team, it's not just about one kid. He is building a program. And when you look at what they've done and what they're doing, I'm curious to see where this thing goes for them moving forward. I just not just in the playoff run, but as we continue to go forward and what happens next for them, because this is truly not what we expected when this year started. I don't think, if we're being honest with ourselves, I don't think we truly expected this.
And he was starting to do the same thing. I think he came from Mount Vernon, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he had Mount Vernon right before he took the Winsboro job.
Yep.
And so, and he was, getting them going the right direction. So, and I agree with you, Coach Hubbard. I think that week 1 loss to Tatum, I think that was purely just an offensive, just trying to get on the same page and figure out what they got, because they really haven't looked back since then.
Yeah.
Hey, and looking at their roster, quarterback Noli Carroll, Jr., their receiver that's committed to Mississippi State, Camden Capehart, Jr., their other receiver that took the kickoff for a touchdown, Jr. Like, they got, these kids are coming back next year. So whatever team, and you made a good point, Jeremy, in week 1, them breaking in a new quarterback. And remember, that was only half a game. That was not a full game that they played. It was only half a game. So who knows what would have happened in that second half? I mean, I think this Winsboro team is very, very dangerous. And Malakoff is also a very, very good football team. They made adjustments in that second half. Coach Driscoll talked about it. Like, they made adjustments. And he even mentioned it. He said Winsboro wanted it more in the first half, and we had to turn it around in the second half, and they did. So kudos to Malakoff.
I think there's a good chance we see this game again, guys.
Round 4. Already mark it on your calendars. Round 4. Now, Malakoff would have to get through Jefferson in the 3rd round, which I think is a sneaky good matchup.
Yeah, it is.
But
it is.
If they get past Jefferson, I think Winsboro's got a little easier path. But if Winsboro and Malakoff both keep winning round 4, probably at Rose, it will be a good one.
Yeah, I just checked Winsboro's path. You're right. I think they get to round 4. I'm not gonna say easily, but I think they get to round 4.
Do they have? Was that Liberty Ilo? Would they hit them?
They will. I don't know.
That would be interesting, because Liberty Ilo's got some good athletes.
I think I'll still err on the side of Winsboro in that game.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I think there's some good teams in this little bracket.
And if you think about this, and KO, I know this is going to be touchy with you. Winsboro and Harmony were kind of both in the same boat coming to the year, right? Like, losing a bunch, what's around them, what's going to happen to them, and we see how one responded. They're both in the playoffs, right? Harmony's in the playoffs, but just 2 completely different years. And whereas I thought going in, and I think we've had this conversation, of course, I haven't been on a while, but I think we had this conversation early. Those 2 teams were on similar, like, let's wait and see what happens with where they're at.
The only pushback I'll give on that is I think Harmony lost a bigger core group of seniors, where maybe like Finney, obviously Kyler Finney it's irreplaceable, but Harmony also lost Boston Seahorn, Braxton Baker, Will Young, a lot of other key contributors to that team.
For sure. So, I guess my point was we just expected them to be closer to what Harmony did this year, maybe, than what they did.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I thought Winsboro was going to be down this year. And I think, and even talking to some people at the Winsboro game, they think this Winsboro team is even better than the team last year with Kyler and all them. So because they're better up front, like the trenches is where they were getting beat last year. And they proved it against Malakoff. They're a lot better up front. So this Winsboro team is going to be nasty. Round 4. In about 4 weeks, we get a rematch.
All right.
Hopefully.
Game 6, a game that me and Coach Hubbard attended on a Friday afternoon as the Brentwood Christian Bears came into town, and Brook Hill took care of them pretty easily. The score, honestly, was not it was a lot more lopsided than the score, and we'll talk about that. But he had 3 red zone opportunities that came up with 3 points, a couple of turnovers, and a forced field goal after a penalty. And then you had 2 big long runs for Brentwood Christian right up the seam. Minus that, it was all Brook Hill Friday night. It was, and I talked to several people after the game. I think overall it was one of the best performances all year by the guard. You take away those small mistakes, you clean those up, and that was it. They couldn't have played any better. I thought, from the top. I mean, Coach Hubbard, I'm sure, will have his thoughts, but from a person that's watched every one of their games that won this year and called them all, they overall everything was clicking. The defense was playing well, minus a few breakdowns. The offense played well. The rain, I'm sure, kind of was some issues with the ball, the fumble, but overall, like, it was a really solid game, a must win to get in the playoffs, and they came out and played like gangbusters out there. I mean, I was impressed with them.
Yeah, I think man, you hate to play this game. The unfortunate part for us is uh, of our two district losses, one of them, okay, you lose to Austin Regions, that's a good football team. Second one against Grace, where I think we'll kick ourselves over that one for a long time. Um, Man, I think the thing about Friday was it was the biggest performance for us of the year, mainly because it had to be. Like, it was just like that was the night that we needed to play the best, and we did defensively. And I don't just say this because I'm a part of it. I challenge many people to come run the football against us. It's very hard to do so, and that's a credit to our kids. That's not about us. That's just they buy into what we do, and um, we have one of the most dynamic players in East Texas, in my opinion, Samuel Williams, and it's been unfortunate for him that he's been so banged up throughout the year. We're doing all this, man. Braxton Durrett hasn't played a snap in a few weeks, and credit to our
Yeah,
kids.
but Affrey and Gilberti, Jeremy, they played really well. I mean, it was great to see that you guys have those guys you can plug in, and I don't say not miss a beat because you never not want to have Braxton in the lineup because he's just that kind of player. But I mean, the guys you can put in there, I mean, that lineup front breaking holes, and y'all were just pounding the ball against them. They couldn't stop it.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's nothing against Carlos and Enrico and those guys. I think that what's happening to us at times, and what's been the case for the last few weeks, has been we're now because we are. I mean, we weren't very deep to start with. Now we're losing guys that are playing both ways, and now we got more guys playing both ways, or we're not able to play guys. I mean, hey, credit to Beck Langemeyer who gets to start outside linebacker the last 2 weeks and has a huge game this
Man, he
past
had
Friday.
a couple of swats. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like he was pulling his basketball skill set out
Did
there.
he
yeah.
have
I mean,
any flops
no flops for
or
Beck. No,
charges?
No flop. He
but
did have
you
some
know,
swats though, man. He was
He
throwing
had
that.
yeah, batted down a couple balls at the line, had him a sack. I think he ended up with like 8 or 9 tackles. I mean, he just had a great game. And so, you know, it's just been a credit to our guys that they've been doing that. And we get our hands full Friday. There's no doubt about that. Just kind of the way the tiebreakers worked out. We go from, we beat the team that's the second seed. We lost by 7 of the third seed, and we get to play Fort Worth All Saints, and um, they got some guys, ain't no doubt about that. But you're in the dance, and you get a chance. And the one thing I know about our coaching staff and is we'll come up with something. It may not, it doesn't guarantee success, but it'll give us a chance to do what we do best and take out what they do best. But if you can win that one, that you talk about winning games and the momentum that builds. You find a way to win on Friday night, good things happen over the next few weeks if you're our program. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Friday night was a huge deal for us. I'm sure that the only person that picked against us was Jaron because that's what he likes to do. But I haven't forgotten, Jaron. I haven't forgotten.
No, I had Brick Hill this game. I had Brick
This
Hill.
one you did, but I know when you didn't. But that's
There
okay.
was
I'm
that
just messing with you.
one week.
I'm just messing with you.
know.
I'm just messing with you.
Hey, that's
But
probably
no, it was a good
probably.
night.
I was wondering if you heard that.
I was
I hear
probably.
everything.
I shouldn't have had Jaron in the booth. I guess he was bad luck for us, Jeremy. I guess he was giving some grace vibes on the broadcast. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, come on.
You know what? Credit to them. They beat us. It is what it is. They beat us. But
Hey, they got
gotta
a
go
tall order too. They
well,
got a
not
tall
only
order next week.
I don't know. I don't care how tall their order is. They got to drive 7 hours to get that tall order. So good luck with that.
Yeah, they do.
We got a tall order, but it's 3 hours away. There's a 7, so it is.
That's right. That's right.
7 hours for a playoff game?
Yeah, they're going to Midland.
Midland,
Man.
yeah, Midland.
Gross.
Couldn't happen. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's our district. Our district is going to have a hard time, right? I mean, Regents will fare well. We got a tough game. Grace has a tough game. Hyde Park, nobody from Hyde Park's listening. They're the freaking fourth best team in the district at best, and they're going to get a home playoff game. It's a joke. I mean,
Oh,
look,
Brett, I think I got Hyde Park on the phone.
Is that
good.
Phil
Ask,
And they're
Dawson?
saying,
will you please ask Phil Dawson why he went for 2 against us in the end to lose the game? But I will say this: that you know that man, this sounds terrible. I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying they should not be the 2 seed. It is what it is. People around Grace know, man. Prayers to those guys still. They went through a lot of things. They went through a lot of stuff over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, and that they don't want to use that as an excuse, and I never would even play as an excuse. That Hyde Park game for Grace is just an anomaly. That would not happen if they lined up and played 10 more times. What happened again? And so but congratulations to Hyde Park. They found a way to do it. They get to host a playoff game, and they'll get beat at home by Fort Worth Christian, but that's okay. But we'll see what happens. You guys missed me, didn't you? You
Yeah,
missed
we
me,
did
didn't you?
miss you. We did miss you.
yes, absolutely.
Oh man. But yeah, it was a really good game. I mean, like I said, I was proud of the guys. They, it was 18 seniors that you guys got, right?
And it's a bunch of them, man.
And
It's
so
a
this
bunch.
is
It's a
it's a
huge
special
group
group.
of what we've done. Yeah.
So, over the next couple of years, they've got a young group that's coming in. A couple of freshmen have had to play up on and get some snaps and have looked really good out there. So, got a good future there for Brook Hill, but it's definitely gonna take a hit with losing these seniors. They've got a really good class. So, I'm hoping that if nothing else, that we play hard and are able to compete and just leave it all out there.
We're gonna play hard, man. You know that. You've seen us. We're gonna play hard. That won't be an issue. It'll just be, a lot of things are gonna have to go right for us along the way. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We get to play.
You never know. All right, game 7. Garrison and Joaquin, and that craziness of a district down there in the I guess it's Larry's country. I guess we'll call it Larry's country as he's been bouncing around and covering all these teams. And Joaquin loses to Garrison, and so this is a very interesting game. It's one that, so if Joaquin wins this game, they get first. But since they lost, they dropped to 4th seed in the district. Not only see that happen very many times, but Joaquin is a dangerous team. They have that special running game. I think they run similar to Tatum, Jaron. They have a similar style offense. And so I'm almost as surprised, except for the fact that Garrison is very good on the ground too, with all the weather. I was really surprised that the score was 34-8. That was a little bit of a shocker to me. I thought it'd be a little closer, but Garrison, we talked about it all year. This was their year, and they took care of business. The only thing they let slip is they had trouble in some close games. They did lose that game to Shelbyville by 1 point, which Shelbyville did win the district with that tiebreaker. So you've got a lineup of Shelbyville, Garrison, Timpson, and Joaquin in the playoffs. And if I'm a district across there, I don't want to face any of those guys. Like I said, I think this Garrison win's a big one for them. I think these 4 teams are going to win a lot of playoff games, in my opinion. I think we may have a district matchup here later in the playoffs between a couple of these teams. But shout out to Garrison from a big win. I did have Garrison. I had 6 people that picked Joaquin, but I had Garrison, and I wasn't surprised that they won. I was impressed by the way they beat Joaquin.
Yeah, but Joaquin all season, I think it's been a consistency thing. I mean, some weeks they come out and it's like, man, where have these guys been? And then the next week it's like they lay an egg. And
well, you look at the points, though, Jaron. The points they've put up, though, that was so surprising. This is the least they put up all season. They scored 65. They had 24, but that was against a really good Beckville team. They had 58 against Tenaha. Grand Slam, we know how good they are. They only scored 19 in that game. But Corrigan Camden, they put up 56. Against St. Augustine, 47. Hemphill, 52. Timpson, 49. Shelbyville, 44. And then they put this 8 down. I know Garrison is a good team, but that's just not a real good offensive effort out of Joaquin, especially them not affected. If they were a spread out, throw the ball around team, then I'd have been like, okay, well maybe but being able to they run the ball, that is their bread and butter. This surprises me a little bit though. That's the shocker to me.
Yeah, but how many times did each team touch the ball in that game, right? With the way they both run it, how many possessions did they have, right? And so that plays a big factor. I think Joaquin is getting back. We talked about teams this year who have bounced back from where they've been, other than embarrassing Beckville a few times that I've mentioned a few times on this show. They are back now, and you see where they're at. I'm with you. I was kind of shocked maybe at the score, but I'm actually more shocked that I don't know. I we'll see what they do this weekend. Me and you're going to be there, Brett. I know maybe I hadn't broken that yet, but we're going to get to see him in person. It'll be fun. The game will be over with very quickly, by the way, because they both want to run the football too. So
I'm not trying to be a hater, and I love Larry, and I'm sure Joaquin's great. I'm not a believer in the Joaquin Rams. I'm just not. Like I'm not like this score. Honestly, is about how I expected it to go. Like I thought Garrison would take care of business and handle it pretty easily. I think Joaquin. I'm not going to use the L word because I got in trouble with that when I was working in the radio. But I think Joaquin was very fortunate that DJ Barnes didn't play against for Shelbyville when Joaquin played Shelbyville. I think that's what gave Joaquin that win over Shelbyville. So I'm just not overly impressed with Joaquin. I am very impressed with Garrison. I got to see them against Timpson and in the Battle of the Atoyac, and it was a great ball game there. So I think Garrison's got a really good defense. That run game's going to travel, and it doesn't matter the weather. And Garrison had a couple turnovers against Joaquin too, and it seems that if they can play a clean game, they may blow somebody out. Like I know they blew out Joaquin 34-8, but I'm talking it could be 50, 60 points if they would stop turning the ball over. They had 4 turnovers against Timpson, a couple more turnovers against Joaquin. They need to hold on to the football, but I like this Garrison team a lot, and I'm just not sold on Joaquin just yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like again, I think they're an okay. They're a solid program, but I know we'll talk about Pick'ems in a little bit for next week, but I don't know that they make it past Centerville. I really don't. I think that's going to be a really tall order, really tough game. I like Coach Jones, but they lost a great coach in Coach Lawson. Went over to Wascom. Jones in that system, steps in, and I think he's doing a good job. But I'm with you, KO. I'm not quite convinced, on the Rams yet. I think they're headed the right direction. I just don't know that they're there.
Yeah, I think they're trending in the right direction. I'm not a believer of them this year.
All right. Next up, Henderson and Lindale, and man, Kyle, your Eagles. They just disrespected Henderson this week. I had Lindale. Only 19 people. There was an upset pick. Anybody? I know we know one person here that had Henderson.
It took me a while to get on the Henderson train this season, guys, and I finally got on it. And I'm on it long enough to be thrown off of it.
It's because y'all weren't on the show. See, if you'd have been on the show, me and Kyle talked about Henderson Lindale game. You maybe should listen to the show when you're not on. You might have got some good insight.
I think it's karma for a certain pick he made a few weeks back. That's what I think.
Come on, man. Come on.
Oh,
hey,
man.
Jared, in case you haven't found out, Coach Hubbard doesn't forget anything. He's got the memory of an elephant.
Man, you got a receipt box back there, don't you? God.
Yeah, I keep it. Here's the reason why I keep it that way. Nobody has my receipts that I say things. That's what I got to hold on to them. I've been bitten by that a few times. No, seriously. I told you guys, I thought this is the time they turned around. I'm with you, Jaron. Like, was it time to believe in them? And I thought maybe it's their time, and it just wasn't. And how could we ever go against the fighting KOs? But even if Lindale wins the game, did you expect it to look the way it did? I mean, I think that's the shocker of the bunch, is not to be that dominant.
That's what close. I mean. Yeah, I mean that's what surprised the mess out of me was just the how the game looked. I mean, it was just nasty.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to look this way. I mean, Lindale's playing some good football here recently, though. It seems, they got blown out by Kilgore a few weeks back, but then a shutout of Maybank, and then an overtime loss to Pine Tree, and then on the road to Pine Tree, and then to come back home and in a must-win game where you had to win to get in, you left no doubt and completely just from pillar to post knocked out Henderson. So really proud of Lindell, really proud of the Eagles and Coach Cochran. Now you're in the dance. Anything can happen. We've talked about that all night. It's the theme of the night. They're in. I hate it for Henderson because I like Coach Baker, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in the season to for this fall off that Henderson had, but it was bad. It was something bad, and it's something that's going to not sit well with them over the offseason.
And you guys know this. Lindell's a program that has a tendency when they get in the dance to make a run, even when they're not supposed to. This is a team over the last few years, a few times that maybe out there in, even if they were the 1 or the 2 seed, they get in and they get hot and they win games.
That's different though, because before let me get this year right. Before 2020, maybe before 2020, I think it may have been that season. Lindell had never made it past the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
so like this.
Then everybody got the
recently,
COVID.
Though.
Then they got the COVID shot. I'm just kidding. But COVID happened, and then all of a sudden they're winning the playoffs, right? I mean, that's what they've done over the last few years.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying, like, for me as a Lindell fan.
Don't hear that? No way.
Oh no!
I
know who it is. Yes. What's up, Diggs?
The professor is here. Man, we got
Jeremy and I are on a podcast. He's probably going to log off right now.
I knew I was smelling something. It's just fear and the inability to read maps, I guess, is what I'm smelling. Diggs, I don't even know what to say to you, man. I've missed you though. It's this program's ratings have taken a hit because we haven't been on the show together. I just want we can agree on that at least.
Whoa, okay.
But just remember, while you're beasting from the East, and all due respect to Jaron and Brett over here, who is your KMU champion? It's your Dallas guy. You can put that on a map, buddy.
Oh man,
I don't even know what KMU
That's because
is.
there was Dallas schools in it. That's why.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of Fruitville football.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools I don't know what's about up there.
Congrats. We can talk about Seagoville and Dallas Wilson, I guess, if Diggs is on the show. Congratulations. All those teams will make it real far in the playoffs too, right?
One and done. It's okay.
We've already talked about Malakoff. We've already got his one honorary East Texas team.
Jaron, do not.
Don't feed him.
Do not do this, Jaron.
Oh
Wilson
man.
County in the house.
I've missed you guys. Me and Kyle we've been fun by ourselves, but I've missed the comedy show here. We haven't had much. I guess we've been kind of we agree and disagree sometimes, but it hadn't been as fun without.
From what I'm hearing from you too, Brett. So from what I heard from Diggs is that, or from I don't remember which one of y'all said it. Which one of y'all heels at the bottom said it, but y'all said that the ratings have taken a hit since y'all ain't been on the show. It's been me and Brett holding this thing down for the past couple months.
And we appreciate you.
Then Brett, you saying, well, I guess we haven't been much comedy. We've had good shows.
No, I said they were good shows. Actually, our ratings, if you want to go there, have been better this year than last year. Just saying.
They're taking a spike tonight. We appreciate you, Miz and R-Truth. You've been holding down the show during the offseason, but now John Cena and The Rock are back. And it's time to take off. That's all
I've
I'm
only
saying.
been gone like 4 weeks. Come on.
We're not talking about you. We're not talking about you, Hornswoggle. We're talking about John Cena and The Rock.
Oh man, we've kind of strayed away here.
He did pick Grace, in case you forgot. He deserves everything he gets today. And then it's over. Sharon. It's over.
Oh man. Okay. We're on game 9 now.
Go Birds.
Arp and West Rusk. Arp gets the win from Mike Alzamore himself. For the first time since 2016, the Arp Tigers beat the West Rusk Raiders. West Rusk Raiders said it a bunch of times. And a big win for Arp, and they get to now avoid Newton. That's the prize they get for third place, which is a pretty good prize, I would say. But congratulations to Coach Schminke and the Arp Tigers on that big win.
Go Arp. Love to get it. wasn't sold on West Rusk this year either, and so what Arp did to West Rusk is not really a surprise to me. I'm proud of Arp and proud of the Tigers over there. They're going to have to find somebody other than Josh Smith to contribute, though. It can't just be the Josh Smith show. I mean, it's got them this far, but you have to have somebody else in the playoffs.
Bergens is back now. He returned last week, so they did get.
Perfect. Well, there you go.
Back.
Well, and they got some injuries. I mean, they lose their quarterback, then Zane Bort comes in, then he breaks the collarbone, and then they got that. I mean, they've had some. Come out with the injuries they've had and the 7-3 record. I mean.
Yeah, and you say they avoid Newton, but it doesn't get a lot easier with Woodville. And then if they happen to win that one, it's Grand Saline or Hooks. I mean, it's not going to be an easy road for them over the next couple of weeks. I think it's still, if they win a playoff game, you should be slap on the back, hey, congratulations, because it's probably still more than they should do. And you're right, Jaron, the injuries have been adding up. I mean, the quarterback and then Bork and, Burgess being back will help. But that's still a team that's playing shorthanded right now. And you're right, Kale, West Rusk, not a team that, man, I mean, that's – they lost a lot. Like, we knew they were going to lose a lot going into this year. And
they've been inconsistent.
Never got together.
It's kind of been up and down. They look really good against Troop. Now, I don't know if it was Troop that played down to their level or what, but 5 overtime game here a few weeks ago against Troop. And so it's just kind of been up and down with West Rusk. They've looked good in some points, and in some games they just looked absolutely terrible.
Thoughts on Arp, Diggs? Thoughts on Arp?
Come on, Professor. You're East Texas guru here.
Yeah, come on, champ.
I picked Arp, but Troop has been one of the hardest teams for me to figure out this year. I mean, they've been up and down and competitive and non-competitive where I thought they should be. Obviously, when you're looking at by district, that's what we're looking at right now. You want to avoid Newton. You want to avoid Woodville. I think we're going to see a split in the 11 versus 12 matchups. But Arp, I mean, the fact that they were able to beat West Rusk and get there, I think, unfortunately, they're going to be one and done.
All right, game 10 here of last week's is we had Marshall over White House. Nobody picked White House. So that was a shocker there. I wasn't surprised. I thought, it was a tough one. Marshall's, basically the second team there behind Texas High in that district, and it's not really that close. And White House has been another team that's been kind of interesting. They lost to Mount Pleasant, and then Hallsville beat Mount Pleasant. So now Hallsville's in and Mount Pleasant's out. I just think that this Texas High is a class, and everybody else is just happy to be in the dance.
Yeah, this one wasn't a surprise to me either. I mean, I thought Marshall would run away with it, and they did. White House is another team that I don't know. I don't know what to think. White House, they were competitive early in the season, and then that loss to Mount Pleasant just kind of threw a wrench in everything, and they haven't looked the same since. So I'm not sure what to think of White House, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just never know what you're going to get with those guys right now. And unfortunately for them, I think we know. I mean, they're going to have their hands full on Friday, obviously, in the playoffs. But, man, just a team you cannot figure out. We've been high on them. I think I've had them in and out of our top 10 every week. They've flip-flopped every week going in and out. So it's 5-5. That's what you expect, I guess, of a team like that.
The three-way tiebreaker in this district was crazy, given the point margins and how big all those point margins were when they played each other. Marshall's a team I'm still trying to figure out as well. I think they've got a pure 50-50 game this week, but 8-5A is pretty solid down there. So they're going to – everybody's going to have to bring it. And even Texas High having to play a team in Nederland who went from the district champion to fourth place in one crazy, 5-minute stretch. I mean, that's not even going to be easy for Texas High, despite the fact that Texas High is, as you mentioned, the class of this district.
All right. You mentioned our polls. Let's go take a quick look at them at the end of the year polls here. We've got the 6A, 5A poll. We only do 5 in this just because it's just, this has been pretty much this year. There's been 4 solids. You had Texas High, Longview, Lufkin, and Marshall for the last several weeks have been solid, the top 4. White House and Tyler High have kind of bounced back and forth in there. I stick with White House this week at 5, even though they lost. There's not another team in the area that even has a winning record. So it was kind of defaulted. They get that 5th spot. Jeremy, what did you have pretty much similar poll this week?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, T High, Longview, Lufkin, Marshall, White House in, just because I mean Hallsville's in the playoffs, but Hallsville is White House would handle Hallsville, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm with you. We should just have a 14 poll in this group potentially.
Yeah, my poll was it didn't change. I wanted to take White House out, but I didn't have anybody to put in there, so it stayed the same by default.
Same.
Do you like that, Diggs? Do you like those? For what we have to go for. I mean, we could go steal. We could do what Diggs does, and we could go steal a DFW team and stick in our poll. You know that's what he would do.
Hey, I will tell you that as part of my podcast, I just finished taping that. That's why I got here. One thing I do that I think is unique, that is fun, is I kind of go NCAA style, and we name the 8 teams with the team we think is going to win the 8 teams. And I actually gave Longview their own bracket. I think Longview is the favorite to get to the regional finals against DeSoto. So Longview is by and far the number 1 team, and everybody else is so far with Texas High is a pretty close number 2, but after that, just jumble them up because because Tyler High played in such a good district. I think you're looking at some of those point spreads and being like, oh, they're not that good. I think Tyler High would have been fine if they were in 5A Division II, but given who they had to play, it doesn't look good.
All right, I like that. And for those people that want to check out your show, Dig, so where would they find that?
Digging for Wisdom. We're on YouTube on Wednesdays. Like you guys, we tape a little bit early to do all of our post-production and to edit Jeremy to look like a passable human takes a lot of work on your part, Brett.
Wow.
So, I understand why you need the lead time to do that. You got guy over here calling him Hornswoggle. The stuff, look at this guy. Big Jeremy is what we're going to have to call him in the Big Bronson Reed themology going on here. But at the end of the day, why don't you take your screwdriver and see if you can figure out a 5-star pick, because nobody trusts you, Jeremy. Nobody trusts you.
Wow. Oh man. All right. No,
that was unexpected.
Nowhere. That was
and even quite unnecessary, I must say. I'm sitting over here minding my own business. I was actually going to say, can I get an invite on Digging for Wisdom? Where are you digging for it at exactly, Diggs? Because most of your picks, I know where they come from. But anyway, go ahead, Brett. Continue.
On YouTube, YouTube and Spotify.
We got 4A polls up next. Mine stayed similar to what I had last week. I went Carthage 1, Kilgore 2, Pine Tree 3, Chapel Hill 4, Pleasant Grove at 5, Gilmer 6, Athens 7, Van 8, Center 9, and Sulphur Springs there at the bottom at 10. What did you guys have for this week?
Yeah, I'm really.
I dropped Hendo out.
Yeah. Henderson, they're gone. No, you're right. They're gone. I was really similar, Brett. Honestly, I went Carthage, Kilgore, Pine Tree. I have PG at 4, at Gilmer 5, Chapel Hill 6, Athens 7, Center 8, Van 9, 10. I struggled. Silver Springs lost pretty handily last week. I have Canton in there at number 10, even though they lost to Sunnyvale. Just looking at their whole body of work over some of the other people in there, it would have been Sulphur Springs. I'm not ready to put Quinlan Ford in there. That may be a Metroplex team. I don't want to step on Diggs' toes, but honestly, if I didn't have an issue putting a 5-5 team in there, it'd probably be Lindale over after what they did against Henderson, last week.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel good about my poll now because I totally forgot that Sulphur lost. But I just
they lost to a good team. They lost to a good team.
Doesn't matter. They still lost. But I just did some rearranging real quick. So my new updated poll is Carthage 1, Kilgore 2, Pine Tree 3, Chapel Hill 4, PG 5, Gilmer 6. Those didn't change. Since I dropped Hendo out, I moved Van up to 7. I got Athens at 8. And I did move Lindell in to number 9 because I think they've been playing better football recently and hometown bias. I got Sulphur Springs at number 10, though.
Okay.
I'm a little annoyed at what I'm hearing, not because your picks are bad or anything. Your picks are sound, your rankings are sound, but I don't understand the obsession with the record because, who you play matters. How many times wasn't it 3 or 4 years ago, a 4-loss Gilmer team goes 5 rounds. At the end of the day, you're looking at who have you played, and if you've lost to people above you, you can be 5-5 and 6-4 and make a run. So I don't like the fact that you're running into these. Oh, I don't like them because they're 5-5. If they've lost to 5 better teams, they're going to be 5-5. They could be 6th place and be 5-5. That's just what happens sometimes when you're in good districts. I don't get it.
Good point. Good point. Jaron, who you got in this poll?
Here. So Carthage 1, Kilgore 2, PG 3. Got them a little higher than you guys do. Pine Tree 4, Gilmer 5, Chapel Hill 6. And then got Van, Athens. I still like Sulphur Springs. And then I've got the Eagles there in number 10.
All right.
Philadelphia, Boston College.
No. Lindale.
Okay. All right.
Lindale.
Making sure.
All right. So after we tabulated the poll, also one of our voters, Brandon Ogden, he's not here, but he still votes on our poll. We got the final calculations have Carthage 1, Kilgore 2, Pine Tree 3, Pleasant Grove 4, Chapel Hill 5, Gilmer 6, Athens 7, Van 8, Sulphur Springs 9, and Center at 10. So that's our final regular season poll. Diggs.
Sulphur Springs deserves to be ranked. I mean, Panther Creek is a really, really good team. They look like they've figured it out. I mean, you can look at how Salina beat them earlier in the year and how they just got through a couple of these games against Paris and Lake Dallas and Aubrey. But once they are a talented team and they're going to be dangerous. So the fact that they beat Sulphur Springs in Sulphur Springs like that is not an indictment on Sulphur Springs. It's a compliment to their coaching staff to get this team and get them headed in the right direction for the playoffs.
Yeah, Sulphur Springs, they lost to what? Salina and Panther Creek. There's their only 2 losses, right? Those are pretty good losses. I mean, if you
those are good losses.
Yeah.
First off, there's no such thing as a good loss. Second of all, let me tell you this. It's not about who they beat, or it is not who they lost to. But let me ask you this. At home, they beat a 2-8 Bullard team that just lost to winless Brownsboro by 2 touchdowns. They did 21-7. They followed up the next week by only beating a 3-7 Mount Pleasant team by 10. And you yourself, Diggs, said they just got through some of these games. You don't deserve to be ranked. You're just getting through, and you're beating a bad Bullard team at home by 2 touchdowns, and you're barely beating a 3-7 Mount Pleasant team. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's hard to win games no matter what. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's hard to win games. It is hard to win games. And you know, the records do matter. The records do matter. In Silver Springs, yeah, they're 8-2. But some of those 8 are not. If you want to call good losses or whatever, then you got to look at wins, and those are bad wins to do what they did.
Okay.
But still, to get 3rd place in that district with Paris and Lake Dallas and Aubrey, those are your good wins.
Well, maybe.
I mean,
maybe so.
Paris beat PG, right? Paris beat PG earlier in the season, 7-0.
Well, we got some insight on that, Brett. We got some insight on that Paris or PG was running a completely different offense when they played Paris, and that's why the score looked the way it did. So that's why we've seen completely different teams since that point. But I don't think Paris is better than PG, and I don't think that Paris beating PG means they're a dominant team. Like, I don't think Paris is that good.
No, but I'm giving credit to Sulphur Springs wins though, right?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And that's a good that it's not just trash, not just trash teams. That's a good district.
I've had Lake Dallas, Aubrey, and Paris ranked in my 5A DFW 4A Division I poll at some point in the year. So that's 3 ranked wins over DFW area teams, in addition to what they've done out in East Texas.
They weren't wins against bEast Texas teams. They're different out here in bEast Texas, Diggs.
Well, maybe in 4A Division II, but 4A Division I is going through DFW, Salina, and Stephenville. Ask Tyler Chapel Hill how going through DFW is.
We don't want to start that again. That 5A Anna program that was already 5A we had to play against. It's okay. That's all right. Kilgore is also in there. You don't forget about Kilgore. So, all right, we'll go to little guys now. The 3A 2A TAPS poll. Little bit of change in mine. Maybe some shifting. Still got Malakoff at 1, Westwood 2, New Dana 3, Jefferson 4, Grand Saline 5, Winsboro 6, Liberty Yellow 7, Lovelady at 8, Wascom 9, and Beckville at 10. And this is always an interesting one because there's so many teams in this area that are so good. It's a tough one. You can't lose too many and still stay in this one. What do you got, Jeremy?
Yeah, same top five. Those 5 teams that all went 10-0. The top 5: Malakoff, Westwood, Jefferson, New Diana, Grand Saline. I'm going to value wins. I got Garrison or Winsboro at 6, Garrison at 7, Wascom at 8, Beckville at 9. And just to prove a point, the most overrated team in our area, Honey Grove, I have them at 10. Their playoff run won't last long, but but there are some other teams in there, right? I mean, you got Liberty Islo, as you mentioned, Love Ladies, you mentioned Shelbyville. I mean, there's a bunch of teams in there you could put anywhere in there along the way. Winsboro with the most losses in my poll at 2. I have them at number 6 just because, quite honestly, what we've talked about already with them earlier in the show with what they've done, and they proved a lot of things last Friday against Malakoff in the Battle of East Texas teams.
I got Malakoff, Westwood, New Diana, Jefferson. They're district champions. They're undefeated. They're my top 4. I moved Grand Saline into my top 5. They were 6, so I just moved them up a spot. Also undefeated district champion. I moved Love Lady up from 8 to 6, so they're up there, all district champions, the top 6. I got Winsboro at 7. I had them at 5, so I only dropped them 2 spots because they did play Malakoff so close. Garrison, I moved them up 1 spot from 9 to 8. I moved Liberty Islo up from 10 to 9. And I dropped Grapeland from 7 to 10 because they did lose to Love Lady, but again, it was a 1-point loss. So that's how I got my top 10.
All right. Jaron?
All right, let me bring it up here. So I've got Malakoff 1, Westwood 2, Jefferson 3, New Diana 4. Got Liberty Islo 5, Winsboro 6. Then Grand Saline, Wascom, Beckville. Then being from up this area, I had to give Honey Grove some love. I'm a Paris guy, so I had to give Honey Grove some love in that 10 spot.
All right. So our final tabulations here. Malakoff 1, Westwood 2, New Diana 3, Jefferson 4, Grand Saline 5, Winsboro 6, Liberty Islo 7, Wascom 8, Love Lady 9, and Beckville 10. That's how it wraps up. All right, Diggs. See if you can. What do you think about those?
I said this last time you did your 3A and under poll that Winsboro is better than all of y'all are giving them credit for. I mean, they played Malakoff to the hilt, and I think that they're probably better than a lot of the teams you mentioned that you ranked above them, and significantly so. Jefferson has been inconsistent this year, and don't sleep on Honey Grove. Honey Grove has a really good shot to get out of that region.
Hold on. You said Jefferson's been inconsistent this year?
Yeah.
KO, what's Jefferson's record?
I believe they are 10-0.
That seems pretty consistent to me.
Because all you care about are wins. I care about style points. I need style points.
Okay, let me tell you why. Because I go to work every day and try to win games, know how hard it is. And if you win 10 of them and you lose none of them, you deserve to be up there. Bull crap on that style point. I mean, that's a bunch of junk.
As somebody who does Metroplex football, we have a 10-0 team here named Saginaw, and they're going to get their butts handed to them when they start playing real teams and Aledo and teams like that. I'm not saying Jefferson is that style because they are a good team, but 10-0 sometimes can be window dressing. You get in a decent, a middle tier district, you can go 10-0. We've got some 10-0 teams out here who are not going to win against 6-4 and 7-3 teams in the playoffs, because your road matters. South Oak Cliff, they're not 10-0, and they went to Longview and beat them.
Yeah, Jefferson, but that district,
they put a tough schedule. Their district is good.
All four of those playoff teams were state ranked at some point this season. All 4 of them. I mean, that is a tough district.
They beat Newton. They beat DeKalb. Those are 2 good wins in pre-district. And then their district was really good. I mean, they played a tough game against Liberty Islo, which was the next best team in the district, which they're a team that dropped down to 3A from 4A Division II. So yeah, they didn't beat Tatum. They didn't look great, but nobody. I mean, that was a wicked, weather game. I mean, I kind of throw those out there. I mean, they beat some teams pretty handily. I don't see any inconsistency to me. I see consistency, and I see a lot of good wins on the schedule.
Last 2 weeks winning by 1 and 5. I mean, if you're talking about being a state-ranked dominant team, and DCAB is not. I mean, again,
they went to Liberty Ilo, a really good team, and got a win on the road. I think
I'm just saying, if you're talking about, because East Texas is really good in 3A and 2A, as y'all mentioned. I mean, that's probably your strength. That doesn't tell me that you're going to run the table. And as Jeremy said, at the end of the day, we're here to win championships, right? Checks and championships. And I don't know that Jefferson's got the pedigree to do it. I feel better about Winsboro.
Well, week 4, and I'm not saying Jefferson wins that game, but week 4 of the playoff, round 4. I'm not saying Jefferson wins that game, but it's going to be a game. It'll be a good game.
Here's my point about winning games, and even in your situation, Diggs, we were talking about Saginaw. Okay, they're 10-0. I don't know whether you're saying they're not a good football team or they are a good football team. I don't know what you're saying, but here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay, if they're not a good football team, then explain to me how they week to week for 10 straight weeks went out there and won 10 games. That's hard to do for good football teams, much less bad ones, right? And our poll is not talking about the 10 teams with the easiest chance to win a state championship. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the body of work they've done from week 1 to week 11. Where are we at? This is where we're at. And Jefferson goes on the road to Liberty Ilo and wins the game by 1 point. They beat Tatum home by 5. This is a Tatum team that, guess what they did to Winsboro back in week 1. We already talked about that. So Tatum's not a team that doesn't have any talent. This is a good football team in a weather situation. I'm not going to buy into the fact that at 10-0, you're telling me you're not consistent, or you're telling me you don't have any kind of credibility for winning 10 games. It's hard to do. It's not easy to go out and win games.
The last 2 weeks, again, I'm talking about the last 2 weeks, not been the kind of impressive, dominant kind of performance you would have from a team that y'all are having, number 3 in your East Texas polls. I just think if you're going to be that high, you need to be taking care of business with style points. And again, we have a playoff team in 5A Division I that went 0-10. So sometimes it is about your district. It is about your district when you just can slide in at 0-10. And there are really good teams that did not make the playoffs.
That should be illegal. That should be illegal.
But again,
we're not talking about who's not. We're not talking
Harris
about
ain't making the playoffs. I mean, there are good teams that are not in the playoffs.
Yeah, but this is a good district. This is a good district. 4 teams from this. Every playoff team has been state ranked at some point. And again, I know it's 3A, but that's not a slap district.
I agree. Atlanta and Tatum. Atlanta's been very inconsistent as well. They play up, play down, and again, it's about matchups and weather and all that kind of thing. But guess what December is, Jeremy? You don't get to play at the Star because out in East Texas, y'all don't have indoor stadiums like we do in DFW. You're going to have to deal with the weather. So why don't you go wait in line and go wait for the Star and maybe you can get in there.
Wow, you ran coach off. You ran coach off there. Oh man. All right.
Listen, I want to put my little 2 cents in that, then we move on. I just want to put my little 2 cents in.
Okay,
I think going 10-0 is an accomplishment. I don't care if it's a crap district or not. I think, to Jeremy's point, you still have to go out there and win those games. The other team's out there trying to win too. So, I think you winning 10 games is a big deal. But to your point, Diggs, it does have a lot to do with your district too, because Malakoff and Winsboro each got 5 easy district wins by playing everybody else in their district, because that district was absolute crop. That district was terrible. So they had an easier district to get those easy wins. I don't think Jefferson's district was great by any means, but it also wasn't a slouch of a district. They did have some good teams in there. I see what you're saying, Diggs, about style points, but to Jeremy's point, just win. That's Al Davis said it best. Just win. You can only play who's in front of you on your schedule. So I don't think you can hold it against the team for winning because they beat who's on their schedule. But I get what you're saying with the style points, but at the same time, they're still going out there and winning these games, whether it's by 1 point or by 50 points, they're still getting the wins.
And I've been following.
Goals is your style points. It's your body of work. I mean, you just don't rank them from 10-0 to, because y'all know very well that being 10-0 does not mean you're the best team. Longview's got losses, and they're the no-brainer as your number one team because who they've lost to. I mean, Ruston, Louisiana is a really good team, and losing to them is it happens. You play a team that's better. And I don't think y'all should be rewarding teams to schedule down in non-district by propping them up with 10-0 and 9-1 schedules. Oh, well, we're going to make you number 2 or number 3 when you have 5-5 and 6-4 teams that will beat them every single year. We see it every single year where you'll see a 10-0, 9-1 team out in the first round because they are a product of their easy district.
I've been following this Jefferson team for a few years just because I was calling Tatum exclusively. So I've seen this team, and I think and Coach Jimerson was a good coach, but I think Coach Taylor's a really good coach. And I think with the talent they have, that's what I'm saying. I just think I get that 10-0 may be the same as 6-4 in some schedules. I get that. But I also feel like this team's been on the incline. And they're kind of at the precipice. And again, I think we'll see them in round 4. I think we'll see a good game.
So I just got a text from Coach Hubbard. Said his computer died. It was scared of Diggs. LOL. His computer got
smart
scared.
Computer. He's got a smartphone and a smart computer. About the only thing smart in his household.
Oh man.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to jet, but it's been fun. I haven't been able to be on with you, Professor, yet. So I listened, and so I'm glad we were able to go back and forth a little bit. And
you got full professor experience tonight.
Yeah, but hey, it's playoffs, guys. It's playoffs in Texas. So
it is.
I'm excited.
It is. Well, it's probably good because Kyle would have probably tried to pick against who you pick because he's trying to catch you, Jaron. So your picks will be on the DL now, so he won't be able to try to catch you.
I think I might have a good week. I'm just saying, I think I'm going to have a good week.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Jaron. We appreciate you.
See you guys.
See ya. All right. That was Jaron there. And now it's time to make some picks. Professor, are you ready to make some picks with us?
Let's make some picks.
All right. You can't run me and Kyle off, so no worries. We're here every week, so we don't scare off easily. All right. So first game is Pineland West Sabine versus Grapeland. Diggs, tell us what you think about this matchup.
Man, Grapeland is one of those teams I just can't pick them. Yeah, every time I get in there and try to figure them out, and Lovelady, it's just like I get these games wrong often. So to that end, give me Grapeland.
All right, Kyle, what do you think?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My AirPod died, and I tried to put this other one in, and it's connected, but it's not connected. I don't know. Anyway, I guess it's used to us doing little hour-long podcasts when it's just me and you. We're not used to having 5 people on here. My AirPod couldn't handle it. This one's pretty easy for me. I told you that earlier. I'm a big believer in Grapeland. I got to see them earlier this year against Alto, and I was really impressed with their defense. They shut out 3 opponents in a row. They gave up 6 points over 4 games and then lost by 1 to Lovelady, who won district and is a really good team. I like this Grapeland team. I like their defense a lot. I think they win this first round game pretty handily.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I like Grapeland too. It's hard to know that West Sabine had a pretty impressive win. I got to see them against Sabine Pass that last week. I'm not so sold on that district down there. I just think this Grapeland district, we've kind of covered it a lot with Mount Enterprise and Alto and Overton, Lowell. There's a lot of good teams there. There wasn't a lot of easy games in this district on a week-to-week basis for the most part. So I think that strength of the district is really going to help them in this game, and I'm going to take Grapeland as well.
I mean, 5 teams in that district, 6 wins or higher. I mean, that's
yeah. Alto started the year 5-0 and didn't make the playoffs. That's tough. It's tough. All right, Joaquin and Centerville's game 2. That's the game that me and Jeremy will be calling. It's in ARP on Thursday night. Should be a good one. What do you think about this one, Professor?
again, Joaquin has been one of those teams that I've had a hard time figuring out. Centerville winning that district, I think I'm going to take Centerville.
Okay.
Yeah. I told you earlier, I'm not sold on Joaquin. And when you look at Centerville's schedule, their only loss is a 3-point loss to Groesbeck earlier in the year. I think that's not a bad loss to have if you're Centerville, because if I remember correctly, I believe Groesbeck was in Malakoff's district last year, so they're a 3A D1 school playing, and so Centerville had to play up to Groesbeck and only lost by 3 points. But all that being said, I'm not a big believer in Joaquin, so give me the Centerville Tigers.
Groesbeck did not have a good district run. I'll just say that. And that 5-3A district with May Pearl and Mejia, that Mejia won over Grandview. It was tough for Groesbeck. I was a little disappointed in Groesbeck actually not being as competitive in that. I don't know if they had injuries or what, but they seemed to like start high and drop. But still on Centerville.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Centerville's schedule, and they've been, as of late, been pretty dominant. They haven't had any close. They had a game against Rogers. They won by 1 point. Of course, they had the Groesbeck loss, but they've been pretty good so far. Joaquin they're kind of inconsistent. I agree with you, Diggs. I think that Kyle had a good point earlier. I think it was Kyle that said that they got a break having DJ Barnes in that game. I think they're probably the fourth best team in the district, even though they had a chance there, or they had a chance to get the first place seed if they could have beat Garrison. But I mean, they are in a really tough district. I think this game will be a competitive one. I don't see Centerville just blowing them out, but I think Centerville gets the win. I'm gonna take Centerville in a competitive game. I think maybe they get a spread of a couple of touchdowns, maybe late, but I think for the most part, I think this is a good 1-4 matchup, as much as you can possibly ask for a 1-4 game to be competitive. The next game, another game that we're trying to get on NETSN, is we've got the Center Rough Riders and the Gilmer Buckeyes in a first round matchup, a rematch of last year's first round. And man, this game might be 200 points scored. I mean, this could be crazy. I mean, obviously they're not going to get that high, but I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. Could be the last person that has the ball wins. We've talked about Center's defense being better, so I know that's not saying a whole lot, but they have done a better job of holding opponents to lower totals this year. And so I'm going to go with Gilmer. I'm going to go with my statement is, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Center is going to have to beat the state champions. I don't see it happening. I think we may see another Gilmer Carthage game, and sign me up for it later down the line. But I'm going to go with Gilmer in this one.
I think Gilmer big. I think they'll win this game running away, at least by 4 scores.
Oh.
This is our red zone game of the week on Friday, so this is where I'll be. I'll be at Eagle Stadium in Tatum, home of the Green Eagles, baby. All right. Anyway, we'll be there for that game. It'll be a fun one. I was at this game last year, as a matter of fact. Gilmer won 69-42. I don't know if they'll almost put up 70 points again, because Center's defense is improved a little bit, so maybe in the 50s instead of the 60s. But yeah, I think Gilmer wins this. This is Gilmer's third season. This is when they begin their run. This is Gilmer Buckeye football. They're used to playing in November and December. So give me the Gilmer Buckeyes handily in this one.
All right, let's go. Game 4, Atlanta and Winsboro. Between two districts, kind of different. Winsboro and Malakoff kind of dominate their district. The Atlanta Tatum district, we were talking about that a while ago. Pretty competitive. I just don't think Atlanta has a chance. Unfortunately, I think they're a good team that's just come up against a really tough matchup. This is one where you wanted to be the 1 or 2 seed if you're in the Atlanta district. You don't want to be that 3 or 4 seed. And so I'm going to take Winsboro. I don't think it's going to be close. I think they handle business and move on to the next round.
Winsboro by 50.
Ooh, okay.
It's going to be closer than this. Atlanta at their peak. If Atlanta plays their best football, I think they can keep this within a 1-score game. I don't think it'll be a 50-point margin, but Winsboro should be the favorite.
All right.
50
Game
was
five-
a little me exaggerating a little bit, but I do think Winsboro wins by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Okay. All right. Thanks
Thank
for
you, Big
clarifying.
K. Mo. Appreciate you.
Game 5. This is going to be one of the better matchups, I think, in the area. Van versus Athens. All right, Diggs. I want to hear what you have to say about this one. This is they're on that very fringe.
This is 2 DFW schools,
they're on the fringe
Henderson County and Van Zandt County, 2 DFW schools.
Two DFW schools, and I have not trusted Coach Harrell. Zach Harrell is an amazing coach, part of the Harrell family tree. He used to be on message boards back with me 15, 20 years ago when he was a graduate assistant. He loves football, and I love getting to see him really take hold over at Athens. I think, but Van is just another level. I'm taking Van over Athens, but I'm cheering for Athens. I love Coach Harrell. I hope they win it, but Van is just playing too good of football. I'm thinking of when Van beat Carter earlier this year, and Carter's a good football team. Van just knows how to win in the trenches. I think they're going to take care of business.
You know, Brett, what's funny about this is it's 2 DFW schools playing right in the heart of East Texas at Rose Stadium. So that's humorous to me. But anyway, yeah, because there's not enough room in DFW for all the stadiums and all the teams trying to play there. Listen, I think this is going to be a really fun game.
The problem is because none of the 6A and 5A schools won. It's open.
Okay. Well, I think this is going to be a really fun game. I think Van and Athens, this is about as competitive as a first round matchup as you can get, I think. Really impressed with Van. When you look at their 3 losses, a 6-point loss to Pine Tree on the road. I was at that game earlier this year. It was a very good game. A close loss to Gilmer. They fell down to Gilmer early on, but fought back and really were competitive in that game. And then had Pleasant Grove on the ropes a little bit last week until Pleasant Grove pulled away at the end. So I really, really like this Van Vandal team, which is blasphemous coming from a Lindell Eagle. But I really do like this Van Vandal football team. I'm just not sold on Athens. And I know I said that a couple of weeks ago when I picked Center to beat Athens, and then Athens took care of business against Center.
You're going to be apologizing again next week, Kyle?
Maybe I will be. And then I'll be a believer. But I'm just not a believer in the Athens Hornets yet. I like Van in this one, but I think it's going to be very close.
I do. I like this game. I think it's a great matchup. We kind of were, trying to figure out which 10 games we're going to pick, and this first round's always interesting because you've got those 2-3 games that are sometimes they're lopsided, sometimes they're not. But you get the second round, then you start getting those really juicy matchups where you first place and second place teams in district possibly meet, maybe even some strong third place seeds. But this one to me, I don't think it's to me. I think more about Van. I think it's more of how good Van is, not that Athens is not a good team. I just think Van is at another level. And you mentioned it. Their schedule, I mean, you look at our rankings. I mean, they lost to a team we have really high ranked in Pine Tree, a team that we have really high ranked in Gilmer, and a team we have really high ranked in Pleasant Grove. They don't have a bad loss, and they've pretty much handled the rest of their schedule. I mean, you talked about, I'm not sure how good Dallas Carter plays football. I know they're good on the round ball, but Diggs mentioned about a good win over Dallas Carter. I know they have athletes up there. Swaggy can tell us that all day long. But I mean, still, that's an impressive win to go, to Dallas Carter and get a win up there. And so you look at, they got a win against Lindale. They're in the playoffs in Division 1. So I think Van's got a really good team. And I think that's more of it. It's not that Athens isn't. I think this is just going to be a tough matchup. And I think Van's a little more battle tested. That other district was not as sweet. You had Athens, Center, and Carthage. And then the other 3 were just kind of floundering around, seeing which one was going to get beat first round by Pleasant Grove is what the matchup is. But I just think that they've challenged themselves, and that's a tough matchup as a 3rd seed. We talked about the 3rd seed earlier, Kyle. This is one of those 3rd seeds that I wouldn't want to see as a 2nd seed.
No, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Van to have to see a 2 seed like Athens, but it's also unfortunate for Athens to have to see a 3 seed like Van. Like it's a tough first round matchup, but this is what you like to see in the first round. This is what these 2-3 matchups should be. These should be competitive first round games, not blowouts. Gentlemen,
I have to go. I have to run. I have a 9:00 errand I have to deal with. The the schedule of a DFW insider is very hard. So you can invite Jeremy back. Tell him the bad man is gone. Thank you for inviting me on there, and we are in the best season of the year. So
Do you want a speed pick real quick? I'll give you the game.
Pick. Go for
All
it.
right, here we go. Woodville, ARP.
ARP.
Farmersville, Canton.
Canton.
White House, Huntsville.
Huntsville, big.
Anderson, Shiro, Troop.
Troop, big.
And LCM and Lindale.
Let's go with Lindale.
Watch. There it is, Diggs. Okay, baby.
All right. Well, Diggs, I appreciate you joining us, and hopefully once football settles down, we can get you back on and we can have some wrestling, talk some wrestling here sometime
Maybe
soon.
I'll actually catch up and be able to see what y'all are talking about at some point.
Hey, you got to give it big Full Gear pay-per-view coming up, and also a Survivor Series. So you got to
see Fright Night yet, so I got to see Fright Night before I can get to Full Gear. So
okay,
I stick with it. I watch them even if it's 3 weeks late. I will watch them.
We appreciate
that's what I do. I have to catch up. So I had to catch up to watch the Crown Jewel. So I had to go WWE only. So now I'm trying to catch up with AEW. So that's just what happens.
That's okay. All right, we appreciate your time, and we'll hope to talk to you soon.
And I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'll say go Lindale Eagles. How about that?
Okay, I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
All right, thanks, Professor. We appreciate it. And thanks for Professor Kyle. And
it's us again.
Well, what a show tonight, man. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, really was. But I enjoy it when it's me and you too. I really do. I got to sit back and just enjoy the chaos for a minute. It was rather entertaining.
That was fun. That was fun. We need to do that more often. We need Diggs and Jeremy on the show every week. That is next time they do that, I'm cooking popcorn before they if once Diggs comes on, I'm just getting some popcorn ready.
Oh man. All right, so we got 5 games left on our pick'em here. Woodville ARP. This is the game. I guess we've been talking about those. We're covering this one. I think Jaren's going to be going down to Rust to broadcast this for NFHS. Man, I like what ARP's doing, man. I really do. I know Woodville is a good team, and the ARP Tigers this year, man, it's just something about them. They got Bergens back. They beat a West Rust team that they hadn't beat in almost 10 years. And that district is really strong with New Diana and Troop. I think they take 3 out of the 4, and I'm going to go with ARP Tigers to get this win over Woodville.
I really want to take Coach Schminke and the ARP Tigers. I really, really, really do. But I'm looking, and Woodville is a KTRE school, so it's a school that we cover. I obviously don't get down to Woodville very often. We don't hear a lot about Woodville, so I'm not real familiar with them. But when you look at their schedule, only 2 losses. I mean, a loss to Newton in district and a loss to Anahuac in non-district. Like those aren't bad, And then ARP's losses aren't bad. Garrison, a 1-point loss, and then New Diana only put up 41 on them, and that loss to Troop is kind of the one that sticks out to me. But
they've also had some injuries too. They've had some injuries. Right. They've gotten their quarterback, McKelvey is back, and their tailback, Kason Bergens is back. They still have Josh Smith. I think DeMarcus Wade has been big. They did lose Zane Bork. To injury, so they still have him out. But I mean, they kind of put it all together here. They've got the guys back. The pieces are there. I feel like this could be the year they get that first playoff win in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think I'm going to take the ARP Tigers because I want them to win, and I do. I think, like you said, they're getting healthy. They're getting healthy at the right time, right when playoff starts. And yeah, maybe they can ride some of that momentum of getting a win over West Rusk for the first time in 8 years and kind of ride that into the playoffs. But yeah, I'm going to take ARP over Woodville.
All right. The next matchup, Farmersville and Canton. And I don't know much about Farmersville, Kyle. Now they're like officially in the DFW area, correct? All right.
Yeah, correct. They are. Yeah, they're an actual DFW team, and they play actual DFW opponents.
Okay. All right. Just clearing that up. I want to make sure, since Diggs wasn't here, we cleared that up real quick. Man, Canton Canton's been interesting. I've had them in my poll a little bit this season, off and on. I looked at their schedule and they just the schedule they have has been my problem. They just haven't really played anybody. And when they did, and I thought they might do well in district, but then they took a loss to Sunnyvale. That was their second district loss. I believe that was last week's game, I believe, if I'm correct. But I don't know where to put them. You look at Farmersville, they've lost to Van Alstyne and Crum and Blue Ridge. And I don't know anything about any of those. I know they did beat Wills Point by 4 and Commerce by 10. So those are a couple teams that are like sort of in our area, and they're not very good as far as I remember. Commerce, I think they made the playoffs, but maybe as a 4 or a 3 seed. Wills Point, it's not real strong. Man, I'm going to go with Canton, man. I think I'm going to go with the other Green Eagles, Kyle. I'm going to go with Canton to knock off Farmersville and get a big win. And Canton, not known as a football school, at least as of late. But I'm gonna have them picking up the win here and moving on to the second round.
This one's tough for me too. Because you were talking about Farmersville has that win over Wills Point. Well, you know who one of Canton's losses to in district was to Wills Point that ended up not making the playoffs.
That's what's been confusing about Canton. I feel like
and then they beat a Quinlan Ford team by 7. That is a pretty decent win, but I mean Quinlan Ford, it's not like they've been setting the world on fire either.
Yeah.
I think this district that Canton's in with Sunnyvale, Ferris, Quinlan Ford, and Canton, obviously those 4 playoff teams, I don't think it's a very strong district, but you look at Farmersville with Van Alstyne, Crum, Caddo Mills, like that's also not, I don't know.
Districts look very strong.
No, this one's tough for me. I've already picked, as a Lindell Eagle, I've already picked the Van Vandals. I think I may get excommunicated from Lindell if I pick Canton too. That's like 2 of Lindell's big rivals.
What? Yeah, and then you got your pick down there in the last. What if you went against Lindell and you went with Canton?
Well, I'm not going against Lindell. So there's a spoiler for that one. Man,
I know. They picked some good games. These are tough.
I'm trying to think of who Jaron would pick too. I'm thinking Jaron would probably go Canton.
He did see Canton play. He went over and covered the Russ Canton game, I believe.
So I think I'm going to go Farmersville.
It is a long playoff season. It is a long playoff season. So don't go chasing Hail Mary.
No, right. I don't. Well, I don't think it's that far of a Hail Mary. Like I think Farmersville could win this game. I think it's going to be a close one. I got to try to find one that I think Jaron's going to go Canton. So I'm trying to.
That's why he got off. So you couldn't see his picks. Well,
I'm guessing them anyway.
All right, so you're going with Farmersville. Okay. Game 8, White House Huntsville. Man, White House is just. They're on this roller coaster season. I don't know. They're going to have to travel all the way to Huntsville. I think that unfortunately, White House fans, I think you're traveling down there and going to take the L. I'm taking Huntsville in this game. I just don't feel confident about anybody in that district other than Texas High. Marshall maybe, but I just don't feel like that anybody else in that district just really has my confidence. So I'm going to go with Huntsville in that one.
Yeah, this one's easy. Huntsville's one of Huntsville's district losses was to Port Neches Groves, the defending state champs, by 3 points. So
they're pretty good, I guess, huh?
It's not bad. Yeah, I think Huntsville wins this one pretty easily. The White House has just been too inconsistent. They've just been up and down, way too inconsistent this year.
Yeah. Game 9, Anderson Shiro versus Troop. Man, I'm going with the Troop Tigers, man. They've looked good this year. They did struggle against West Rusk a few weeks ago, which was troublesome. But they competed about as well against New Diana as anybody has all year. We know how good New Diana is. So I'm going to take the Troop Tigers to get the win in round 1.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Troop as well. When you look at Anderson, Shiro, we just talked about their district with Woodville. Woodville was at least a little competitive with Newton. Anderson, Shiro didn't even get off the bus against Newton. They lost 62-7. And then, lost to Woodville 48-27 as well. So I think that they're a clear tier below Woodville and Newton in this district. And I think Troop's a good football team. So give me the Troop Tigers.
All right. And our game 10 is LCM, Little Cypress from Reeseville, hosting the Lindale Eagles. All right. Are we Fly Eagles flying, Kyle, I assume?
Yeah, of course. We're going Fly Eagles fly. I know LCM's 8-2, and they've won 8 games in a row after losing to Hampshire Finette, which I believe they are the ones that won the 7-on-7 state tournament for 4A this past offseason, and then a loss to Silsby. So outside of that, now they had a close game with Vider, who was the 4 seed out of this district. And then a close game with Bridge City, who ended up finishing in 3rd place. A close game with Huffman Hargrave. It's not like LCM's just kind of ran through this district, even though they're undefeated. They've been battle tested. But I really like how Lindale's playing ball right now. I think Pine Tree's a really good football team, and for Lindale to go on the road, take Pine Tree to overtime and lose that one, and then to come out in a must-win game, a game where both teams are trying to fight for the playoffs, and you go out there and absolutely dominate from the jump. I think Lindale's playing good ball right now, and I'm going to pick the Lindale Eagles to go down to Orange and upset Little Cypress Mauriceville.
Yeah, I'm taking Lindale too. I'm taking 9-4A Division 1 for the sweep. I think they take all 4 games. I just think it's a testament to the district. They're all strong teams, and I think if Henderson would have been in, I think they would have been favored against whoever. I think, unfortunately for District 10, I think they're going to be out the first round. I think District 9-4A moves on, and I think we get at least one district rematch in this bracket, maybe 2. I could see it in 3rd round. I could see it being Kilgore, Lindale on one side, and Pine Tree, Chapel Hill on the other side. I could definitely see that in this bracket.
Yeah, I definitely think we get a rematch at some point, and probably a couple of rematches, where it's been the past couple of years where Lindale will play Kilgore in one round and then Chapel Hill the round after that, or whatever. I think it's one of those things. But when you look at that region, I mean, it's tough. It's not an easy region. Lindale, if they win, they'll have to take on either Houston Yates or Navasota in the next round, and then you could get a Lindale Kilgore rematch in the 3rd round. Kilgore and Chapel Hill wouldn't meet again till the 4th round, but you could have a Chapel Hill Pine Tree matchup in the 3rd round. Like, there's some fun stuff to look at when you look at this district. But I'm with you. I think all 4 teams from 9-4A advance, and that's why it's the best district in the state of Texas.
Yeah, we may or may not be impartial or partial, whatever.
A little bit, but I think we're also right.
Yeah. And just going down, since we're now in playoff mode, we can go down through some of these playoff matchups and just give our thoughts quickly as we close out. The sad part is you got 6A is represented by Longview, and that's it. They're in that Division 2 bracket. You've got Longview against Garland, Neiman Forest. They get to host. I think Longview takes this one, no contest. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. And then that sets up a juicy 2nd round matchup potentially between Lancaster and Longview, who have had some battles these past couple of years. So could be a very good matchup. But yeah, I think Longview's got a really good team. When you look at their region, I mean, they got Spring Westfield in there. You got Klein Collins. DeSoto is also in that region, or not in that region. I'm sorry. Yeah, in that region. DeSoto's in that region, which is a problem. Diggs said it earlier. I could see a Longview DeSoto Region 2 final to go to the state semis. I mean, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, Longview just needs to keep taking care of business. Just keep taking care of business, and then when you get to DeSoto, we'll see what happens there. But you got to get there first.
Yeah, that's good. That would be interesting. I mean, Man, sign me up for that game. Yeah. All right. So you've got down in 5A Division 1, the lone East Texas team is Lufkin down there, 9-1 down in Region 3. They take on Houston Milby on Saturday. I think it's the only Saturday game that I when I was going through the games that I know of. 1 p.m. at Lufkin's Abe Martin Stadium. I mean, I think they have no trouble in this one. This is interesting because they're a new region now. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to figure out some of these teams. Just looking at this bracket for them in Region 3. What sticks out for you, Kyle? Is there anything specifically that sticks out for Marshall in this bracket?
For Lufkin?
For Lufkin, I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
I'm like you. I don't know anything about these teams. Like I've heard some of these teams, like Galena Park. I don't think that's the Galena Park North Shore, but it's still Galena Park, College Station, Crosby. I've heard of these schools, but I'm not real familiar with them. I mean, what sticks out?
A&M Consolidated, Kyle. That's an interesting name for me. That's who Chapel Hill beat for the state championship back in 1989. They were in the same classification. Yeah, A&M Consolidated. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess what sticks out to me in this is I think Lufkin's the best team in this region. I mean, they beat the other 3 teams from their district that are in this region. I don't know. I mean, this could just be my East Texas bias showing and me not knowing the Houston teams and all that. But I think Lufkin can win that region, which is phenomenal.
So what you're saying is that was a great move by them to move to that district, Region 3.
1,000%.
Yeah, I do. I like Lufkin. I think they're going to be playing for a little bit, and I think that was a good move for them. All right, we got the Class 5A Division 2. This is where I was looking at a second ago when I said Marshall. We got one game we just talked about was the Huntsville White House game. Also in this bracket, you've got Marshall at 8-2 taking on Montgomery at 8-2. They're going to host that game at Maverick Stadium there in Marshall. Man, this one's tough. I think Marshall's got the best chance to win other than Texas High. But looking at this bracket, I want to pull the bracket up because I think I want to see the other teams in this bracket because I really, to be honest, I haven't really paid attention to this bracket.
It's a solid region. You got Sauk in the region, obviously, which is going to be a problem. But
are they good?
Heritage,
are they good?
They're pretty decent.
Yeah, Port Neches Groves team. They're not too bad, I think.
Yeah.
I mean this is going to be some interesting matchups and tough. Texas High. They've got a Port Neches Groves 3rd round possibly in their future there. And then on the other bracket, where you've got Marshall, you got Midlothian Heritage is the top team that they would play if they were able to win the 1st round game. And then, of course, if they were able to get to the 3rd round, that would be where South Oak Cliff. The good news is for Texas High, they would avoid South Oak Cliff but they still have Port Neches Groves down there. So, man, I'm interested because this bracket is kind of spread. You've got Port Neches Groves in Region 2, and they're pretty far south for Region 2. So this is
I don't know why they're not in Region 3.
It's very spread. Well, they're in that District 8, so they're right on the edge. And so you've got them crossing through Lufkin, right, to get to some of these other games. That's interesting.
Yeah, but they're D2 where Lufkin's D1. That's the only difference. But
it's weird.
But you're talking about what I think is interesting is remember Marshall was up on Midlothian Heritage last year in the 1st round, up at halftime, I believe, or it was tied, I think, or one of those. But it was a close game between Marshall and Midlothian Heritage. So if Marshall can get past Montgomery, then who's to say that they won't beat Midlothian Heritage in the 2nd round? And then you're looking at a Marshall and Sauk game 3rd round. So, listen, I don't think any of our East Texas teams get out of, other than Texas High, I don't think they get out of the 2nd round, truthfully. But I think Marshall, like you said, is our best chance to get to that 2nd round.
Of course, the other game, Yeah, the other game is Port Neches Groves and Hallsville. Unfortunately, Hallsville got a really tough matchup there. That was their present for winning last week. They get to move on and get to play Port Neches Groves. So, I don't know, that's a tough bracket, but yeah, Texas High is kind of been our number one team in our polls all year. I think they definitely have the best chance in 5A. All right, down to 4A Division 2. Now we talked about Sulphur Springs. They have Dallas Carter first round. We've mentioned Dallas Carter also when we were talking about Van earlier. We'll see how good Sulphur Springs. They're the lone kind of East Texas team up there in the region too, kind of all by themselves. Then you've got the games we talked about with the 9-4A Division 1 games all down here. Is Kilgore has Vider. You have Huffman Hargrave and Chapel Hill and Pine Tree and Bridge City, along with the little Cypress and Reeseville Lindo we talked about. Definitely a sweet possibility right there. We talked about that earlier, and this region is not real strong, Kyle. It's one of the weaker ones. Chapel Hill has kind of been the example of it doesn't matter where you finish. You get into the playoffs, you can make a run here. And I don't think Chapel Hill of the last 3 years, they've only won district once. So they've had some interesting seeds and are able to navigate. This 4A though, 4A Division 1 to me though, Region 2 is really stacked. You've got Salina, you've got Panther Creek, you've got who was the other? That district with Salina's also got who else was in that district that was good?
Aubrey and Sulphur are the other two teams in the Salina district.
Yes. Just a really good district. Of course, Panther Creek is one that is a growing school. I wouldn't imagine them moving up probably the next realignment. They're one of those in growing areas. But I think and of course, you've got Stephenville out, kind of the favorite probably out in Region 1 and Region 4. Austin LBJ back down in 4A. Man, this classification could be a Final Four of star proportions.
Well, I think looking at this, and again, this may be my East Texas bias showing, but I don't see why the regional semis couldn't be all of District 9 4A in Region 3.
I agree totally. I don't think that's far fetched at all.
You could have I think you could have a Kilgore Lindell matchup and a Chapel Hill Pine Tree matchup in round 3. I think it's highly possible.
Your Houston district's always really weak in this classification. They're usually not really good.
They're basketball schools. Houston Yates.
Yeah. Yes. So what you'll get a lot of teams out of the District 12 will win, and then so that actually the second round ends up being an easier game sometimes than the first round, honestly. So then they win that one, and then boom, you're right there with your district. So I definitely don't I don't think that would be out of the realm of possibility for sure. All right, so let's go down to 4A Division 2. Let's see. We talked about Athens and Van. We talked about the Center Gilmer game. Poor Bullard gets Pleasant Grove. I'm sorry, Bullard fans, but basketball season is coming. I'm sorry to inform you. We talked about Canton Farmersville. Same thing for Spring Hill. I think the round balls season starts next week for them as they play Carthage. I'm not sure. They must have did a home and home flip for this, Kyle, because they get to host the playoff game as a 4th seed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, other than the fact that it doesn't matter where Carthage plays you; they're probably going to win. Like, how confident do you have to be? First round, we'll go play at your house. It doesn't matter. We'll travel, do all that. Y'all stay home.
Spring Hill, they're going to get a nice little, make a nice little money off of sales of tickets and concession and all that. So nice.
I believe this means, though, that let's say next year these two teams meet, that Carthage will host the home game. I think, like you said, it's a home and home. Whenever they meet again in the playoffs, Carthage will get to host.
Does it matter?
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, this is going to be this region is going to be very interesting. Man, a lot of good East Texas teams in this. I expect some good matchups. I'm hoping we're able to cover maybe a couple of these going forward in the playoffs, but man, this is going to be an interesting. I think between Carthage, Pleasant Grove, and Gilmer,
Yeah.
Maybe Van in there mix a little too.
Well, that was what I was about to say. Is I think we're getting a Carthage Pleasant Grove rematch in round 3, which was a phenomenal game last year. I think we're getting that rematch in round 3. I can see a Gilmer Van rematch in round 3 as well. And like I said earlier, Van took Gilmer to the brink on the road in Gilmer. So I wouldn't just, I mean, yeah, I know we all want to see Gilmer Carthage in that 4th round, but I wouldn't just pencil that in just yet because I think Van and Pleasant Grove could have something to say about that.
Yeah, this is going to be, man, just a killer of some games in this particular region. All right, another. I mean, I feel like we're on repeat, but some of these regions, man, we've got some. There's going to be some really good games. We got 3A Division 1. We talked about a little bit of this a while ago, and we kind of got in a heated discussion about Jefferson. But you've got Jefferson playing Mineola and Lindale. Jaron will be over there in Lindale on the call for that one on Thursday night. You've got 10-0 Malakoff playing Tatum at Rose Stadium. That, I mean, you know, Tatum's got they have some weird games where if the weather happens or something and it turns into the ball control game, you know, they played with Jefferson the other night. So, you know, I think Malakoff wins this, but you know, Tatum's a good football team. I wouldn't overlook them. Then you got Winsboro. It plays Atlanta. I think that's a good game. I think Winsboro wins, but 2 really good teams there. And then Liberty Islo, they got Commerce. Mentioned them earlier. They got in, but I'm not real impressed with them. I think Liberty Islo takes it. But I mean, you go looking at this bracket too, Kyle, and I mean, some compelling matchups. You go between Liberty Islo, Winsboro, Malakoff, Jefferson. You could have some doozies of some East Texas battles in here.
I think you just mentioned the Final Four in that region. I think you get in the 3rd round. I think you see a Winsboro Liberty Islo matchup and a Malakoff Jefferson matchup, and then I think you could get a Malakoff Winsboro rematch in round 4. And sign me up. That is
getting my juices flowing talking about these games, Kyle. I'm like, man,
yeah, this is another fun region. This is another fun region, but I also think it's pretty top heavy. Like you mentioned those 4 teams. I mean, maybe Grandview upsets Jefferson. I don't know. That Malakoff Tatum one though, that's a juicy matchup because, like you said, Tatum has played some teams tough this year. They beat Winsboro in half a game earlier, lost by 5 to a really good Jefferson team. I'm not picking Tatum to beat Malakoff, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout either. I think Tatum's going to give them a run, and especially if you add in any weather. I haven't checked the forecast for Friday, but if there's any, or Thursday, but if there's any weather in the forecast, it's leaning more towards Tatum.
Tatum's praying for rain.
Yeah, and lots of it.
And then we also can't forget about Region 3, where a Westwood team that's just taking care of business. I mean, but you look at this region, Kyle, and this region is going to be tough for them. They
got a bad draw.
Yeah, you get Columbus. That's a possible 2nd round matchup with Grayson Rigsby. I mean, man, I don't
like it. I was hoping that they wouldn't meet till like 3rd or 4th round, but you mentioned it. This region with Columbus and Hitchcock, you got 2 of the top 5 teams in the state in the same region. Well, with Westwood, you got 3 of the top 10 teams in the state in one region. It's almost like a division or a Region 3 and 4A Division 1. Well, I hate the draw that Westwood
got.
And
it wouldn't have mattered either, because if they'd have taken it and tried to get 2nd, then they'd have had Hitchcock 2nd round.
Right. So I mean,
your third place spot would have been the best.
Well, no, because their 3rd place gets Franklin 2nd round. No, you're right. I'm looking at it wrong. It's Franklin, not Hitchcock. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. 3 seed would have, of course, always 3 seed would have been better. But maybe they should have forfeited those first 2 district games, and they would have fall into that 3 seed.
Right, for a team that's gone through so much this year.
Yeah,
I'm
I hate that draw.
That's just tough. Now I have heard that Columbus and Hitchcock have both lost their quarterbacks for the year. Both teams.
Doesn't matter. You still got Grayson Rigdon. I mean, it doesn't. But Westwood has Kavian Bryant and John Denman, and you got Casendale on the outside. You got Chris Carter out there. You got David Russell. Like Westwood, that is a banger of a matchup in round 2 for Westwood and Columbus. That may be the game of the state in round 2.
Yeah, it very well could be. Very well could be. So, but yeah, I just feel bad for Westwood. That's tough. I mean, you could put them up in this other bracket in Region 2 with the other East Texas teams, and I think they compete with them. Right. It's just gonna be a tough matchup. But we'll see how they. Hey,
not going to count them out.
That's why they play the game, Kyle.
Right. No, I'm definitely not counting Westwood out. I think they have a team that can do it. It's just I expected them to get this tough matchup later in the region, not right up second round out of the box. Like I thought they'd have a little time, but
yeah,
that's a tough region. That's what you get for being in a tough region.
It definitely is. Okay, so this next one, this is what we call a East Texas region. Like this is a strictly like all these teams out of Region 3 in the 3A Division 2. It's basically all East Texas. Now you have the outlier of District 12, which is, you've got they're on the edge there with Newton in that group, but predominantly this is an East Texas region here. Let's see. We talked about the Woodville ARP game and the Troop Anderson Shiro game. But there's some other games in here. We've got Grand Saline Hooks, Grand Saline 10-0. We've talked about them a lot this year. Looked really strong. You've got New Diana in this region, 10-0. They've looked really good all year. Man, and you got Newton there. This is going to be DeKalb at 9-1. I mean, this could make some of the better games in this area out of this particular bracket. Just looking here, you could have a Grand Saline, possibly a Grand Saline ARP matchup round 2. Troop DeKalb, New Diana and Dangerfield. I mean, you got Newton and possibly an Edgewood down there at the bottom. I mean, I think the bottom part of the bracket, it looks really nice for Newton. Really, I think Newton got a good draw. I feel like they'll be able to take care of the bottom part of that bracket. I see you've got Harmony sitting there against Dangerfield too. It's still weird that's a first round game. Last year that would have been like a regional final between Dangerfield and Harmony. But they both back in the playoffs, even though they've struggled. They made it in. You could see. I want to see. I think New Diana Grand Saline, man. If that was a regional final here, sign me up right now, Kyle. This there could be so many different scenarios that go here, but I think they're the two favorites in the two brackets.
Yeah. I think we see a New Diana and Grand Saline region final, but you're right. I mean, some of these matchups, a second round matchup between Grand Saline and ARP that used to be district rivals not too long ago. You're looking at a possible, like you said, a Troop DeKalb second round matchup, a New Diana Dangerfield second round matchup, Newton Edgewood. You're looking at maybe a New Diana Newton third round matchup. Like these are some great Grand Saline and DeKalb, Grand Saline and Troop in the third round. Like there's some juicy matchups in this region. But I do think the two top teams in this region are New Diana and Grand Saline. And I think at the end of it, when it comes to the fourth round, that we'll be talking about New Diana and Grand Saline playing for a regional championship.
All right. That's a 2A Division 2. Kind of separate out. You got Frankston up in Region 2. They're playing Italy first round. Then you also Kearns and Cayuga. Got to see Kearns beat Carlisle the other night. That was a really good matchup there. Kearns has got some athletes, man. They got some dudes that can go. And then, of course, Cayuga's in there as well. That's a very small, I guess they're at the very bottom of that region. And so I don't know if any of those are looking to move. Frankston's a good team. I could see them winning the game. I just don't know how far past that they'll go. They've struggled they've scored points, but they've given up a lot of points this year. And so usually if you give up a lot of points, it's tough once you start playing some really good teams that can get stops, and you can't get stops. That causes problems. What do you think about Frankston in this bracket there, Kyle?
I just don't know a lot about this Frankston team this year. I think they get past Italy in the first round, and maybe they can get past either Hamilton or Whitewright in that second round. But looking at that possible third round matchup where you could see a Dawson team or maybe that Tioga team that beat Edgewood earlier this year, I believe. So and we know Edgewood puts up a lot of points. So if your whole MO is putting up a lot of points and you got to go up against Tioga that's got a really good defense, that's going to be an issue. So I don't know how far Frankston can go, but hey, getting a 2 seed and getting into the playoffs, hats off to Coach Gould and the Indians over there for getting in.
Yeah, and then you go down to Region 3 where you got some really, really juicy matchups down here, Kyle. This one's I expect us to probably try to grab a bunch of these games in this region, as you got Honey Grove, Elysian Fields in round 1. Timpson and Hearn. Timpson at a 3 seed. Who would have thought we'd have said that before the season starts? A Wascom team that I got to see in person. So did you. It looks really, really good. It's got athletes all over the field. Their defense is good. Their special teams is good. They're good at all phases. You've got Garrison, who's looked really good this year against Corrigan Camden. Shelbyville against Leon. Beckville against Boga Rivercrest. That's an interesting matchup for Beckville. They get them round 1. Rivercrest at 8-2. That could be an interesting game. I think Beckville wins, but we kind of thought Beckville was going to win that district, but when Wascom came in and beat them, that just made this region that much more dangerous. I mean, we hadn't gotten down. You got Centerville down there at 9-1 in Joaquin. That's the game that I'll see on Thursday. We talked about that a little bit earlier, and then Cooper and Big Sandy. I mean, between these districts, you got Honey Grove and Cooper. You've got that Timpson district with all those guys that are so good. Wascom and that group with Beckfield. Man, this I don't know that I can tell you who's going to be alive at the end of this period. This may be one of the most wide open brackets. Not wide open in the sense that no one's any good, but just so many good teams in one bracket.
I have no idea who's going to win this region. I could not tell you. You could give me 5 different teams and I say, yep, that they could. Like I could see, but look at these potential second round matchups we could get.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You could get a Timpson Honey Grove matchup, Wascom Garrison, Shelbyville, Beckville. Come on, man. Like
what is going on?
These games are gonna be great.
I think it's going to come down to some matchups too, Kyle, because the style of play is going to be important in some of these games. Because I think the teams at this level are very similar, but do you match up well against your opponent? Are they a bad matchup for you? I think that really could come into a factor here.
Yeah, it's all going to come into matchups. I wouldn't count out that Big Sandy team. I'm not sold on Cooper this year, and if Big Sandy can show up in a big game, which this Cooper game's a big game, if they could show up, I wouldn't count out these Big Sandy Wildcats. They got athletes. I can see Joaquin beating Centerville like a 4 upsetting a 1. I could see Elysian Fields upsetting Honey Grove. I know there's been a lot of good talk about Honey Grove, but I don't. They're a good football team, don't get me wrong, but I think it speaks to how tough this region is, where I think any team in this region could knock off any other top team. Like I think they're so evenly matched in this region.
Yeah, it definitely is. This is maybe one of the most interesting regions that we have, as far as we're not sure who's going to beat who, and there could be some matchups that maybe we didn't expect to see in round 3 that were like, ooh, that's a good matchup. I didn't expect to see it, but man, this could be a really good game. And I think it speaks to the depth of some of these districts that makes these matchups really good. I really think that, we talk about, if I'm looking at this, I still think, I think I've seen Wascom in person. They look really, really good. I've seen Shelbyville with DJ Barnes healthy. They're a really good football team. I've seen Garrison with the Yarbrough. I've seen them last year. I've got to see them on some of the streams. I just don't know, man. There's just so much good football here. And it just speaks to this particular region here. All right. So the last one we got is the little guys, the littlest 11 mans. You got the Class 2A Division 2 Region 3 here. We've covered some of these as well with this Overton Lovelady District. And there's some good matchups here. We talked about West Sabine and Grapeland a while ago. You've got Overton and Evadale. You've got, I I guess, Mount Enterprise and Deweyville. Mount Enterprise is one that we talked about a little bit with Keegan Ash being healthy. They're a 4 seed that's dangerous now. They're that 7-3 record. They might have had a couple more wins there in that win column if Keegan Ash was healthy. I would watch out for them. But looking at this bracket, Kyle, what are you looking forward to in this one?
I think you got some more solid matchups in this region. I think Grapeling got a really good draw as a 3 seed. If they beat West Sabine, they get either Mod or Goldthwaite. Nothing against Mod, but that District 9 is a terrible district.
Did you happen to see that Mart lost to Goldthwaite 46-0 in week 11?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I did not see that.
I saw that and I was like, wow, that's an eye.
How? Why?
I don't know.
Did they not play anybody?
I don't know. I'm in a little group chat with some football guys, and they shared that picture of the scoreboard, and like Mark got beat 46-0.
Doesn't make any sense, but it also doesn't change anything about this. Maybe Goldthwaite wins this game. Excellent. It still doesn't matter. Like I don't think whoever wins that game.
I just saw that and wondered if you'd seen that. So
no, I had not. That's why. The only thing I can think is Mart must have rested their players in the final week because they had nothing to play for. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think you get Grapeland moving on to the third round pretty easily. I think Mart moves on to the third round, which is unfortunate for Overton that they're going to have to see Mart in the second round. That sucks. It's a tough draw. I think you get a Lovelady Bremond matchup in round 2. And then, Mount Enterprise is a dangerous team with Keegan Ash back.
And I could see Mount Enterprise and Lovelady in round 3.
I could too. That's what I was just looking at. I think you might get a Mount Enterprise Lovelady and then maybe a Grapeland Mart round 3 up top. You may have 3 teams from 11.
It stinks for Overton in that 2 seed. We've talked about a few times.
That's tough.
That's just those matchups, man.
But that's what I'm saying. Like maybe, and obviously, 5 weeks ago you couldn't know how this district was going to play out. But had Overton known that then, maybe they let Grapeland get the win over them. Back 5 weeks ago or when they played. So then they get this 3 seed.
And it's hard to do that early in the season because you don't know.
Yeah, you can't know. There's no way. There's no way. But I mean, I've said it all the time that getting the 3 seed is the best draw in the playoffs. And it's especially evident for Grapeland in this scenario because I don't think 9 or 10 2A D2 is very strong. So you should have a pretty good 11 or 12 will be the district that represents coming out, other than maybe Mart, which I think is out of that 10. But Mart and Bremond are the 2 solid teams out of that district. After that, it kind of just falls off.
Yeah. Well, we are going to have that's kind of our end of our playoff kind of overview here. I know the show's been long. Hopefully you tuned in and enjoyed it. I know it was pretty entertaining. We had a lot of fun tonight as it went from we were talking and then it went to some laughs in the middle, and then me and Kyle got down to business again and got some fun, good conversation back and forth here. So good show overall. But just want to let everybody know where we'll be this week. We just found out we'll be doing some games for NFHS throughout the playoffs. So it'll be the same NETSN quality that you're used to. It'll just be on NFHS. So the subscription is like $12, and you can watch all the games that are on there, not just the ones that we do. There's other games on it. So it's really worth it. I mean, you subscribe now and that'll get you all the way through the playoffs for $12. I mean, you can hardly get into one football game now for $12. So it's a pretty good deal. We're going to have 4 games on Thursday night for NFHS. We'll have the Leon Shelbyville game in Nacogdoches. Larry will be on the call down there for that one. We'll have the Jefferson Mineola game in Lindale, and Jaron will be on the call there for that game. We'll have the Grapeland West Sabine game in Timpson. Shires and Wallington and those guys will have the call for that one. And then I'll be in ARP on Thursday, and Jeremy will be with me. Hopefully he's recovered from the bashing he took from the professor, and we're going to be calling the Joaquin and Centerville game. And then on Friday, I'll be traveling. We'll have the game on YouTube for the Brook Hill Guard. We'll be traveling to Fort Worth, and they'll take on the Fort Worth All Saints squad that's ranked number 2 in the state. So it's going to be a tough game for the Guard, but I expect them to be ready to go and to put out a great effort on the field and try to grab that upset. That would be awesome. And then
You smell that, Brett?
does that
You
smell?
smell that?
That smell
It
upset.
smells like an upset to me.
I like that. I like that. And then the center guys have put in for the broadcast. Hopefully, we will be getting that on their YouTube channel for the Gilmer Center game on Friday night. And then our NFHS games will have Jaron will be over in Rusk in familiar territories. We cover Rusk during the regular season, but this time it'll be Art and Woodville there for that game. So Jaron will be on the call. And then Larry will be in Palestine on Friday night for Timpson and Hearn. So those are the games that will be covered by our NetSN crews this week. Kyle, what games do you got this week?
I'm not 100% sure where I'll be Thursday. I think if all works out correctly, that I'll see Jaron over at Eagle Stadium about 2 miles from the apartment here. Not 2 miles, about 2 minutes from the apartment here. But should be in Lindale for Mineola Jefferson on Thursday to get some highlights for that. And then Friday, the red zone game of the week is Center and Gilmer in Tatum. So really looking forward to that one. Should be a lot of points scored on Friday night. Probably a lot of points scored for one team on Thursday night as well.
Yeah, probably so. And then, of course, if you're watching us now, me and Kyle have perfected our clones. Our clones are actually been tonight covering Brook Hill over in Harrington Gymnasium. So that's where our clones are tonight. So if we sound different or sound weird over there, that our clones may not have done a good job, but covering the Brook Hill Guard. Ladies and the men are both in action tonight on the YouTube channel. So if you missed the game, go back and watch it. We haven't gotten score updates.
They could probably tune in. They could probably tune in to the game right now and catch it, because I'm assuming at the time that this is airing, we'll probably still be in the middle of a game.
Yeah, we might be. Might be still in there. But if you miss it, it's always there. You can go back and watch it. So a lot of stuff going on this week. No wrestling this week. We have a week off of wrestling. Got Full Gear coming up, I think, here in a couple weeks. So maybe
Wrestling knows that Texas high school football playoffs started. They don't want to interrupt that.
And make sure you check your app. We've got all the playoffs, stadium score, or the schedules and all that in the app. So make sure you check it out. So if you're going out to a game, we've got the stadiums that the playoff games are in, so you can get directions for those. So that's gonna do it, Kyle. Game that you're looking forward to that you're not covering that you just think is going to be the best game of the week. That what do you think?
Van and Athens.
I like that one. Man, there's so many good ones that we have on our schedule, but that's a really good one. I like that one. I want to say Center Gilmer just because I think I just don't know if Gilmer will be close enough to Center for it to be a good one. I think it could be, but I don't know for sure. I hope it is. I know we covered the Center Rough Riders, and I hope that's a good game. But I think Van Ath is a really good pick. I'm going to go with Arp and Woodville for another one.
I like that one too.
That's a good pick. I think that the Arp Tigers, I've got them on that pick to win, but I think it could be a really, really good game. I think as the weeks go, it's going to be tougher to pick our favorite game of the week. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Beast from the East. For all our friends that were here tonight, we had the Professor Matt Diggs, Jaron Peoples, Coach Jeremy Hubbard, KO Kyle Owens. I'm Mr. NETSN Brett Swinney, signing off for this week. We'll be back to let you know who's in and who has to go home after the playoffs, week 1. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Get your pick'ems in, and good luck to everybody this weekend. Stay safe, and have a great rest of your week and weekend. Good night, everybody.
Lean on your brother tonight. Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. Hey, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online